live in 3, 2, 1. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Real quick on a Sunday evening live stream. Gonna ask a question because I had somebody tell me that Trump and Biden, talking about the two adversaries, I've had several guests have stated that both Trump and Biden are simply players of the same team. Now, fact is, yours truly, I find that to be ludicrous. But what I want to ask you folks today, and certainly if you believe something like that, feel free to state it in the comments. But what I want to ask you folks today is, why are you voting in November? What is it that you are most concerned about? What is your chief concerns come November? Because if the other side wins, talking about if you're voting for Trump and Biden wins, or vice versa, if your opponent, the one you don't want to win, if they are victorious, do you feel confident you're not going to get what you want? So we're asking, what is your chief concern? Why are you voting in November? And if the guy wins that you don't want, do you really feel confident that maybe he couldn't grant you your wish as well? Is it really this polarized now? Perhaps, maybe, according to a few of my viewers, maybe both of these men, regardless of who get elected, could also, or better yet, still give us a decent direction for this country. So what I want to ask you folks is, what are you voting for? What are your chief concerns come November, particularly if your candidate of choice does not win? What worries you the most? You know how the program is ran. Happy Sunday evening to all you folks that are tuning in. I just wanted to get on it because I'm questioning this because somebody has told me, in fact, several people, that Trump and Biden are simply players from the same team. I don't buy that. So I want to hear what you're voting for, and we'll go ahead and hash it out. You know the program is, always will remain MAGA friendly. Been that way since day one. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. You don't have to agree with anybody in the comment section. You don't have to agree with the host. It's all about free speech, zero censorship here. So looking in the comments, focus on the USA, Joseph Trump Thibodeau. So I'm assuming you're voting for Trump, and your most pressing concern is remaining focused on the United States. Do you believe Biden has lost focus on America? Do you believe that if Biden is reelected, the White House will no longer focus on America? That sounds kind of strong. I see in the comments on YouTube, Roach, love the name, says riding with Biden. At the end of the day, we are all on the same team. We're Americans. I love that, Ty McLean. I loved it, but I don't know if I feel that. I don't know, but let me go to the box. What is your chief concern? Why are you voting come November? Zana Nicole, good afternoon, or better yet, good evening. Welcome to the program. What is your biggest concern come November? What are you voting for? Is that Zana?
Yes, Zana.
Okay. Now, I'm going to ask right off the bat, which direction are you leaning politically? Towards maybe Trump or Biden?
So I am 110% independent. Once you decolonize your brain, raise your consciousness, you understand the system. Every 4 years, especially the Black people, I don't know why y'all are so obsessed with the Democrat plantation and then y'all move to the Republican plantation. These systems are both capitalism systems. They both believe in capitalism. Black people, African Americans was the first capital, cotton was the first stock. So when you are voting Democrat or Republican, you are literally voting against your own best interests. For the Black people that's on the Democrat plantation, Bernie Sanders literally said when they go on a fried chicken tour, which they do every 4 years to get their little Black votes, he literally said no one's going to win an election with a Black agenda. He literally says that. We literally watched the Democrat plantation Asian people was getting bullied for 3 months, and they gave them a Stop Asian Hate bill. They didn't give us an anti-lynching bill.
Now you mentioned that blacks are voting for the Democrat and Republican plantation. So you believe the Republicans have a plantation for African Americans too?
Oh, absolutely. Ever since 2020, when you get hold on. No, I do vote. I didn't say I didn't vote, so you got to learn to listen. But anyway, even ever since 2020, when they have their Candace Owens spokesperson, all I'm seeing is a lot of black men leave the Democrat Party just to go to the Republican Party. I really want y'all to understand that there's no party for us. They pander to black people every 4 years. Even if we look at the Republican right now, Trump, he was just in Georgia. This man had them on a fried chicken tour, and black people was just...
So let me interrupt us. I mean, you're an African American woman, obviously. What do you recommend African Americans do at the national level?
This is what I want my African people to understand. I really want y'all to stop allowing the white team men to play you. We have to leverage our vote. No one is going to win with a black agenda. So in the meantime, every single black person needs to be independent and leverage your vote. So when they come every 4 years to do their fried chicken tour, we say, here, this is the things that we need addressed. If you don't address it and find solutions, you will not get the black vote. We need solutions for...
Yeah, but you're assuming when you say leverage our vote, if you don't do this or that, you don't get the black vote. You're assuming all black voters are seeking the same thing. I mean, some black voters...
Hold on.
All right.
It doesn't matter if we're not seeking the same thing. We are all the target. We are the number one target of white tea supremacy. We are suffering from food deserts. We are suffering... First of all, we are leading in most major diseases, which is linked to a food desert. We are suffering from mass incarceration. Black men like yourself are in jail for nonviolent crimes and being sentenced 3 times more the rate of white tea men. So that's a problem. It doesn't matter if we don't have the same agenda. Obviously, black people are not monolithic. However, the way that we are treated is monolithic. So we need to have these people when they come on their fried chicken tour. If you want black people vote, you have to address these problems.
Well, let me interrupt you and ask you this, Zena. Do you really think at this point, less than 5 months before the national election, that either one of these candidates, Biden or Trump, is going to do what you're suggesting?
Obviously not, because we have people in our community who still is obsessed thinking a white tea man is coming to save us. I don't know when in history did a white tea man come save black people. I don't know. So I obviously not this election. Obviously Trump.
Well, I don't want. I just want to say this. There are times when white people have saved America. I mean, Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves. You don't consider that saving us at all?
He didn't free us. We freed ourselves. But thank you very much.
Okay, anyway. And I'm assuming you don't see Lyndon Johnson as giving us civil rights either.
So what was the agenda for these rights that you talk about? You have to understand that white tea liberals, especially, they always have a hidden agenda. When it comes to white tea conservatives, their agenda is just right there. They never changed their ideology on black people. Their ideology on black people always stays the same. So once again, there's no white tea people coming to liberate black people.
Let me just say it like this. If I'm drowning and you throw me a life preserver, I don't give a damn what your agenda is. At the end of the day, you saved my ass. Lyndon Johnson gave African American civil rights, and you saying he deserves no credit for that at all?
So Lyndon Johnson didn't do a damn thing for us. When they was the leaders of our communities, when they fought against civil rights and didn't assimilate to the white tea power structure, they freed us. All he did was sign a piece of paper, and even if
could it be done without his signature?
Hold on. Even when you look at the piece of paper, it targeted black men when they marry black women to welfare. So you have to understand that, once again, white tea people are not coming to save black people. They pander to the black votes. I mean, you have black people running around calling themselves POCs. They came...
Okay, Every politician panders to somebody. You're correct. There are politicians that pander to the black vote. There are politicians that pander to the white vote, the LGBT vote, the women's vote, the Muslim vote. That's what they call being a politician. What I'm saying is, while you're giving Abraham Lincoln and Lyndon B. Johnson no credit at all, you would admit without their signatures, that doesn't happen, correct?
No, without black people revolting.
You didn't answer my question.
I'm answering now, but you're not listening. Anyway, once again, without black people revolting and taking their freedom, then they leverage that pushed them to sign the paper. Number one, you have to realize Abraham Lincoln still had slaves when he quote unquote freed the slaves. He still have slaves. When it comes to here, once again, let me educate you. United States is a capitalism society. Anytime something starts to hurt their pockets, that's when they cave in. Just like when you look at what's his name, the George Floyd thing, they gave Juneteenth a national holiday because it was starting to hurt their pockets. Their stocks was going down. So what did you see in June of 2020? I don't know if your brain can remember that far back. It was all these companies coming up saying, here, we're going to donate this to the BLM. We're going to donate this to
BLM did nothing. And BLM did nothing good with the funds of the donations at all, by the way.
Hold on. BLM grassroots, 110%. The BLM grassroots, 110%. The BLM, the other people, obviously, black people want money too. Anytime there's a situation they get money, black people will sell each other out for a freaking fish fry.
Okay, let me ask you, what did you do in 2020? Who did you vote for? Did you vote at all?
So I was younger. So I was registered as an independent. I did vote for Biden because once y'all took the abortions, we need those abortions. I'm sorry.
Did you vote in 2016 or were you too young?
No, it was so crazy. I was too young.
Did you vote in the midterms in 2022?
No.
Okay.
But I'm voting for Cornel West.
Okay. I'm going to tell you my humble opinion is you're wasting your vote. I get your point you're making, but at the end of the day, Cornel West will not even come in 5th place, and I can't even name all 4 people above him. Cornel West has zero chance.
Of course. That's why, once again, when I said you are wasting your vote. First of all, local elections is more important than these national elections. So number one. And then number two, once again, when I said in the beginning, you have to leverage your vote. We need to let the Democrat plantation see they can't no longer just do fried chicken towards every.
What's so bad about Trump? What's so bad about Trump?
Oh, the list goes on. The number one reason I have for Trump is that Trump is an entertainer. Black people like to vote on personality. So since he has a funny personality, black people just eat it right up. They are politically uneducated on a lot of issues. And then for some reason, they always think that someone owes us something and someone's coming to save us. My problem with Trump is that when he get into the White Tea House, it's a damn circus. I mean, look how many people...
What about his job numbers, low unemployment rate, the price of the plum? Didn't that help out African Americans?
If we're being honest, employment rate was going down when we had biracial Obama in office too. When biracial Obama was in office, employment was still going down. So that we can't really give that to what's his name? I will say that Trump. He did give money to the HBCUs. I will say he did give money to the HBCUs. He did. What's that?
He had a little bit of criminal justice reform, pardoned a few African Americans. He don't get credit for none of that.
He didn't reform nothing. He exonerate. I don't even think he exonerated someone. I think it was too late. He didn't even do that. So reform is nothing. We need amendments. We need amendments. Reforms is another way that white people pandering to black people. Why is black men still the number one face of the prison system? We need reform. We need amendments. I don't need no damn reform. If black people need the antibiotic, why the hell they giving us the Band-Aid? I don't get it.
I don't know. I got to move it on to say, now you know how it is, but we do commit a lot of crimes. I mean, I get it. The system is not always fair to everyone. Hold on, hang on. I get it. The system is not always fair to African Americans, But it's not like when you go to our neighborhoods, it's crime free and the cops are just arresting everybody.
So once again, what's the root of all? What's the number one factor of crime?
Ignorance. Ignorance.
No, the number one crime factor is having no money. Social economics, a lack of jobs. That is the number one problem. In the hood, you're not, for example, I'm sure you're not scared of a rich person, right? You're not scared of a rich person.
Not at all.
But you damn sure going to be scared if a little pookie run around and get you. The root of all evil is not having no money. In these low-income neighborhoods, hold on, let me...
Real quick, I got to move it on. I'll let you finish it, though.
Why you got to move it on?
Because I got other people holding on. I gave you plenty of time. I got other people that want to get in, too.
Yeah, when I come up, the lives is popping. When I was in there, it was 180. So hold on. Anyway,
go ahead, finish it up.
I was saying, the root of all evil is not having no money. When you look at these people who owns these low-income neighborhoods, it's the Asians, the Chinese, the Koreans, the Pakistans, the Arabs. They don't even hire people in the neighborhoods. So now you have people who have to travel all the way to the cities or suburbs to get a job. So then they come back home. That's what I'm saying. The root of all evil is not having any money. And when you guys who are on the Democrat plantation who keep allowing all these immigrants in here to take your neighborhood, that's a problem. So yes, poverty is the biggest problem. But go ahead, drop me and watch these views go down because now you're at 400.
All right, appreciate you coming through. I'm assuming she's new to the program. she probably don't know right now we're simultaneously broadcasting on YouTube and there's hundreds of people there too. Anyhow, let me just say this. I understand some of the points she's making, but I don't believe it is fair representation to totally ignore the fact that Abraham Lincoln gave us civil rights. Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves and Lyndon B. Johnson gave us civil rights. Some would suggest that freeing the slaves might have a part in why Abraham Lincoln was assassinated. He gets no credit for that at all. I don't think that's fair. I get the point that these men had agendas. That is not like they woke up one day and wanted to treat African Americans equally. I get they were doing it for some agenda or the other, but at the end of the day, that's not just something that is African American related. I don't think that Obama or Biden were pro-LGBT. In fact, they're on video saying that they're not pro-LGBT until they became politically advantageous. That's what being a politician is about. So I don't agree with her discounting Abraham Lincoln and Lyndon Johnson. If you discounted every politician that acted because they had some kind of agenda or it would benefit them, I don't think we would ever give a politician any credit throughout American history. I don't know if I agree with that at all, but continuing the program on, Lincoln didn't free shit, says Lucifer. Wow, love the name. Well, find out when slavery ended, find out how it ended, find out what made it legally no longer allowable in this country, and give credit to who you believe ended slavery. Going back to the box, appreciate you folks that are holding on. Go straight to one of my subscribers. We'll go to Arshafine, I think I clicked on. Dame. Does that say Dame?
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Bro, this is the fastest you ever got back to me.
You're going in and out. We'll give him a second. I may have to drop him. Can you hear me?
I'm gonna come back.
Okay. All right, we'll move it on and we'll give him a chance to come back through. We'll move the program on to one of my subscribers until he comes back. Arshafine, good afternoon, or good evening rather. Welcome to the program. Arshafine, good evening.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. Do you believe what my last caller said? Do you believe Abraham Lincoln and Lyndon Johnson deserves no credit for what they may have done for African Americans or may not, according to my last caller?
Given the times, yes, absolutely. We have to give Abraham Lincoln credit. Maybe it was for his own, benefit, which is what a lot of presidents do. But yes, we got to join the army. He enlisted Black people into the Army, which helped defeat the Confederacy. There's
here's why I suggest it is definitely something they deserve credit for. It was dangerous for them to do that. Both of those men, I'm assuming, probably received millions of death threats because of what they did.
Correct. And I also give Abraham Lincoln credit for having Frederick Douglass in the White House numerous times to speak on this. And if it wasn't for Frederick Douglass, Abraham Lincoln would have never allowed Black people into the military. So that is actually a part of history. So thank you for that relationship.
Fair enough. All right. So getting back on topic, the question we're asking is, because everyone's saying that both Trump and Biden are simply two birds, two feathers from the same bird. What are you concerned with most if your opposing candidate gets reelected?
Project 2025,
Ooh.
Most definitely.
Ooh.
The Heritage Foundation, John Oliver on HBO Max did a special on that. And, Jasmine Crockett has spoken. Oh, she's like Batgirl of like the Congress. Anyway, she's interviewed people. It's something definitely we need to be aware of. And they're counting on the next Republican leader.
Do you believe Trump is someone who personally himself would be willing to be instrumental in invoking something like Project 2025, or do you see Trump maybe like, I don't want nothing to do with that?
He's already said it in CPAC. All of his people are in line. You got Steve Miller. It's definitely of course he's on board. Yeah. I mean, these people are going to giving him millions of dollars in donations. Wow. Yes, and it's going to get him potentially, like you and I last talked, more seats in the Supreme Court. So, yes.
So how do you, if Trump gets elected, with you fearing Project 2025? Now, Trump is saying he's going to focus on America, become he's more of a nationalist as opposed to getting involved in wars overseas and things like that. What type of America do you see, considering you mentioned Project 2025, what type of America do you see if he is put back in the White House?
We have the potential of being ruled, I would say, by a religious section of society, which, that's anti-American, the religious
but
right.
Trump is not religious.
But the people that love him are.
Yeah.
So we have that. The other thing I'm nervous about is just stepping backward, stepping backward.
In what other ways? You mentioned religion. How you see Trump taking us back?
Well, I don't see Trump taking us back. I see the people that are going to align with him and be his loyalists, because he's all about loyalty. That's what's going to take us back. So, you have people like Steve Miller with Project 2025 talking about, white people deserve a white nation. We have.
Did he say that?
I would recommend you go. I don't know if you have HBO Max, but I watch John Oliver every Sunday. Okay. And last Sunday, I think it was June 16th, he had this very thing. And it was about Project 2025. And I've watched on C-SPAN, Jasmine Crockett ask questions about this. And it is something that we need to be worried about. Is it going to be necessarily Trump that fulfills their ideology? They also have a course for what happens if he loses. I mean, this is something that we're going to just have to face as Americans in a.
What do you said they have a course for what happens if he loses? I'd be curious to know what's in that.
Well, I mean, it's just going to be the next conservative, this is Project 2029, you know what I mean? Yeah. We tend to kind of ebb and flow, but yeah, I mean, I don't want a president that comes out and says, I'm here for your retribution. I don't think that brings people together. You know, he's supposed to be for all Americans. Even
but how do you respond to some people who say he was just, joking, or just saying that he actually is not going to be a president operating from a standpoint of being vengeful? A lot of folks say he didn't really, just like with him, the dictator on day one, he's not really saying he's going to be a dictator. He's just kind of joking.
I've been alive for a while, and I've never heard a president joke about shit like that. So for me, it doesn't demonstrate leadership at all.
Trump definitely says what he refers to as jokes that I've never heard from any other politician as well.
I don't know who's laughing. I mean, I wasn't laughing.
Neither was Sean Hannity when he said it. So right. I do agree with that.
Is like one of his biggest fans. Right. No, I don't think that stuff like that's not funny. That's it's dangerous, I would say.
Right. Well, the polls are looking really good for Trump, so I just want to let you know that may be our next president. The polls are looking really good for the man.
I know that's scary, but you know what? I remember in 2016 the polls were looking really good for Hillary, and I cried that night because she did not win.
Yeah.
So
the midterms, the polls are looking really good for a red wave in the midterm too, and we've seen that happen. All right, fair enough. You can't always trust the polls. Arsha, fine. I do have to move it on. Appreciate you coming through this
absolutely.
Sunday.
I can't wait to see you tomorrow. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too. Thank you very much. Moving the program on. By the way, folks, it is an uncensored broadcast. It is MAGA friendly, always, every day, all day. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. We go left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with QAnon. You don't have to agree with anybody in the comment section. You don't have to agree with the host. That's how we run this. By the way, if you do enjoy civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle, without any concern of the host block banning or trying to censor you for your dialogue, feel free to follow the program on TikTok and YouTube as a subscription, if you will. I'm a gay black man who supports Trump, says Mr. Save a Hoe. I've never heard of a gay person talking about saving hoes. I don't. Your name doesn't resonate with what you're saying. Shout out to E40, by the way. Killing babies for poor decisions in not defining who women and men are not funny either. I get that point there, Draco. Well, killing babies for poor decisions. I guess the debate is on, if a woman finds out she's pregnant 6-7 weeks along, is that a baby? That's where the argument is. I'm assuming if you're on the right side of the aisle, you say yes. Now, in regards to not defining a gender, I'm kind of with you on that one. I do believe we should have a definition of what a woman actually is. Now, I do believe the right is blowing that completely out of proportion, making the LGBT community sound like nothing short of pedophiles. But I do believe you should be able to define what both genders are. I don't believe it should be some kind of middle ground where I don't know what the hell you are. That's just my opinion. You know how we believe in free speech here. Maybe you should delve a little bit deeper into the signs of one conception creates a human. I don't even know what the hell that is. One conception creates a human. What are you saying, that one human can procreate by themselves? Is that that's complicated. Let me go back to the box. Appreciate you folks that are here on this Sunday evening. By the way, tap the screen. I have not solicited that. It helps out the algorithm, brings more folks to the forum, particularly MAGA. So tap the screen, get the likes up to about 30,000. Same on YouTube. Feel free to smash that like button. It helps out the FYP. Continuing on, we'll go straight to Cliff Stockton. Good evening, Cliff. Welcome to the program. Asking that question, if your adversary, if the political candidate that you do not favor is elected in November, what are your chief concerns? Good evening, Cliff.
Hello, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good.
Good, I'm enjoying your show.
Thank you.
I see you Make America Great Again hat. I wonder if people really know where that statement came from, or where that slogan came from. It was actually a slogan that Ronald Reagan
Yeah. Bill Clinton used it too.
Yes, he did as well, but they're making it famous.
Well, yeah,
with,
I believe the KKK used it as well.
Exactly. I guess anybody could use it. I guess. We need to realize who is it going to benefit about America being made great again.
So let me ask you. You know, as always, we don't censor, block, ban, or do anything. So you can state how you feel in this. What does that hat? When you see that slogan on a hat, a red hat, what does it mean to you?
It means to me in this dispensation, in this era of very conservative Republicans that want to limit certain segments of society. You know, the young lady before me spoke about Project 2025, and they want to get rid of all the civil servants and replace them with people that agree with the philosophy of the conservative Republican Party. Now, someone just said polls lie. You know, numbers do lie, and it's going to be close. It's going to be very, very close. And I believe it's anybody's race right now. And I think that the debate that's coming up is going to change the poll in one direction or the other. But I mentioned this in the comments, and other people chimed in, that if a 34-time convicted felon is allowed to be president, then all other convicted felons should be allowed to vote and regain their rights back.
Well, I will say this, with Trump having felonies and still being able to proceed, it should change some of the rules we have in this country towards felons. But I want to ask you this. How do you respond to even many on the left that might suggest that those felonies that Trump has are kind of hogwash? They made a case out of nothing, or at the very least turned misdemeanors into felonies simply because the target is Trump.
Well, let me say this as a black man. Many times that we have been wrongly convicted of things that we should not have been, you know. So let me say that first. It was a jury of his own peers, and the people that made those convictions valid were his peers. You know,
no, that's actually not true. The jury had to follow the instructions of the judge in the court, but the jury is not the ones that decided to charge Trump as a felon as opposed to a misdemeanor or any of that. They just were told this is your civic duty to serve on jury duty. This is the defendant, President Trump, and they were given a set of rules. But many are suggesting that Alvin Bragg, or particularly the judge, should never have let that case come to fruition, because it's a case that virtually no one else has been charged on.
Yeah, well, of course, they're going to say those types of things. And again, me as a black man, there's so many times that we have been charged and convicted of things that we shouldn't have been convicted of. But
yeah, I don't disagree with you that throughout history, African Americans have been railroaded by the criminal justice system.
Exactly.
But just knowing that it's wrong to do to African Americans, are we seeking Trump for revenge?
Possibly. It could be possible. It could be possible they're seeking revenge.
Then that's wrong, isn't it? Isn't that like?
Yeah, I agree that it's wrong, but there's so many things that wrong things that we have been that has happened to us, you know, and I know that it may be wrong, but I believe that they follow the rules of the law or whatever, and they convicted them on those. I mean, come on, 34 convictions, 34 counts, 34 convictions. Come on, I think that he did some of those things. I think he did. He paid off Stormy Daniels. They had to evidence that he paid them off, and who was it? Michael Cohen, helped them out with their case. So I believe he did it. I believe he did it.
Let me ask you this. This is coming from Mark on YouTube. We run simultaneously on both platforms. Mark on YouTube said he's hearing you give this explanation of how wrong it's been over the years to mistreat African Americans in the system. And his response is, then you should sympathize. If you're willing to admit what's happening to Trump is kind of trumped up charges, why aren't you sympathizing with Trump?
Well, because I believe if nothing is true in the Bible, is you reap what you sow. Well, go around, come around. So,
but are you holding Trump accountable for all of the misdeeds towards African Americans throughout history? Are you putting it all on Trump?
I'm not putting it all on him, but it is what it is. Trump has not been. He's not been innocent in a lot of things that he has done. A lot of things.
Okay,
he's gotten away with a lot of stuff as well. So let me bring this up real quick before I get off and before you cut me off.
Sure.
What I don't understand is how his sympathizers. I'm talking about the insurrection. Now he was guilty of that.
He hasn't been. He's not guilty of anything. There's been no court data in regards to the insurrection until he's found guilty in the court of law. It's just allegations.
Yeah, well, you agree in the court of public opinion. So, but I personally heard him say, "I will meet you there." He told his supporters that he would meet them down there at the Capitol.
Yeah, but you mentioned court of public opinion. In the court of public opinion, Biden's going to pass away tomorrow. Do you really want to go by that?
That's funny, but that's a possibility, and that's another thought. I think so many people, the reason that they don't want Biden to win, because he could pass away, and if he does, then who will be our president?
Yeah,
that's what they don't want.
You get Kamala.
Exactly.
What do you think? You think Kamala's up to the job?
I think she is. And just the job of a president, you have so many. A good CEO has smart people around them, so she can surround herself with smart people.
The best and brightest.
That's what you should do. And so, but I believe that that's what they're afraid of. If Biden wins, say for instance, and I hope not, that he dies in office. We have our first female black president. And that's what they don't want. In 2016, I say all the time, in 2016, that was not Trump against Hillary. That was a referendum on if America was ready for a woman president. And they overwhelmingly said no, because they elected someone that had no governmental experience. Trump has never been a dog catcher, in the country.
Well, let me clear you. Understand, Obama, for the most part, ran a campaign to be president throughout his 2 years in the Senate, and we elected him. He didn't really have any experience at that level either. At least Trump did have an international corporation doing business with politicians all over the world.
Yeah, but he was never elected to anything.
True.
He was never elected to anything. Obama was a state senator, and he was elected. He did know about the governmental process. Trump was never elected to anything. His corporation, it allowed him to be in some of those spaces and places with politicians and with important people. So
how do you think Trump did when he was in office? Do you see right now us living under Biden almost 3.5 years now? Do you believe America is going in a better direction right now than it was when Trump was in office, minus the pandemic?
Okay, well, why are we leaving the pandemic?
Because Trump did a poor job, in my opinion. I just want to get your
exactly. Okay, and that's my point. And we can't leave that out. That's an important part. He didn't handle it. He didn't handle it correctly. He was telling people to drink bleach and those things. And
he didn't say that, by the way. We did a show on that. He never said drink bleach. He mentioned disinfectant. We actually dug up the quote and played it. The word bleach never even comes out of his mouth.
Okay, well, is Clorox is bleach a disinfectant?
That is true. Yes, it is.
Yeah. So no, the economy was doing well. I admit that, but I believe the economy was doing well based upon things that Obama did. Sometimes things take a while to take hold. The economy turned. And we had to go back to when Baby Bush was in office. The economy was trashed. The economy was when we were in a recession. So
do you think if I asked you to name something good Trump did for America, which I'm asking right now, give me a response.
He made a lot of rich people richer. He made a lot of rich people richer, and he changed the tax code for some that allowed billionaires to keep their money, and that's why most rich people are supporting Trump, because they know he will be sympathetic to their interest.
Well, in regards to your suggestion that Trump focused on rich people, how do you respond to folks who say, I never received a job from a poor person? So if he helps out the wealthy, that gives them a better position to help out us all. That's trickle down, by the way. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, that is trickle down economics, but sometimes when it trickle down, it's just a drip and not what we really need.
I'm not arguing with that.
So, but no, he did some good things. I'm not going to sit up and say that everything he did was bad, everything he did was negative. He did some good things, and people did prosper. You know, I even heard my mother say, "I did better under Trump." You know, she's a staunch Democrat, but she said economically she did better.
Well, if your mom did better under Trump, might I interest her in a red hat?
Oh, I doubt that. Oh my God. Oh, I doubt that.
Not likely, huh? Not likely.
See, my mom is not like me. See, she would curse you out if you said that to her.
Sound like my grandma too. I gotta move it on though, Cliff.
Okay, brother, I enjoyed you, man. I gotta pick you up again. God bless you.
Absolutely. My door is always open to you. Moving the program on. Thank you, Cliff. And by the way, folks, this is Uncensored Dialogue. We basically are, not basically, but we do run an open forum. We don't block, ban, or censor. Big dog. Yeah. Thank you for the hat and mustache. Appreciate the support of the program. So this dude basically doesn't stand for anything and just wants to talk. Okay, says Craig Beats. That is the problem. And what Craig is saying in reference to yours truly, I get this all the time. Why the hell don't you pick a side? Who the hell you voting for? Fact is, we have become so tribalistic that someone who is a moderate that is willing to hear the opinions of both sides has become foreign. Nobody even fucking knows what it is anymore. Why can't you pick a side? You just want to yap. As if that is the environment we now live in, where you absolutely have to pick a side, even if you don't agree with everything that side is doing. Even if you think some of the stuff is wrong. Forcibly pushing the American populace to one side or the other. By the way, we don't do that here. That is why we run an uncensored program. We go left of Bernie Sanders to I'm having dinner with QAnon. Everyone gets to speak. No one is required to have a side. We're not telling you what to think. Just want to hear what you have to say. Moving the program on, though, we're going right back to the box. And by the way, appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen. Get the likes up to about 40,000 this Sunday evening. Same on YouTube. Feel free to smash that like button. We'll continue on with Marcos Antonio. Good evening. Welcome to the program. Marcos, asking that question. What concerns you most if the opposing candidate is at the helm? Giving them box of men. The box is acting flaky already again this evening. Gas has always been more expensive in Europe. No argument there. That's true. That is true. Here in Brazil, we support Trump. Here in Brazil, well, supporting Trump in Brazil is kind of meaningless to us, Paula Monteiro. It really is. I mean, because in Brazil, don't you guys actually believe in climate change and things like that? Well, the right side of the aisle is no fan of how you're dealing with climate change. So you're supporting a candidate that likely goes against your Brazilian politics. Nevertheless, how you feel in Brazil doesn't really make a difference in how the elections turn. But I appreciate your opinion. I'm not turning you away. Looking in the comments, cheating is easy when you push a program buttons. I don't quite get that comment, Classic. Cheating is easy when you push a program buttons. All right, what does Gasman Europe mean to me? No clue. All right, moving the program on, by the way, tapping the screen. Thank you, folks. Continuing on with Andy. What is your chief concern if the candidate you oppose is reelected? Good evening, Andy.
Well, hello, handsome. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
So my biggest fear is that he'll enact an abortion ban across the country and we'll lose more women.
So how do you respond to them saying over and over again, they're not here to ban abortion, they're just giving the rights back to the state? How do you view that?
Oh yeah, that's why they all talked. That's why Trump was talking about 14 weeks until they told him it was unpopular with the voters. Once he gets in, he'll do whatever he wants. That's realistic. But I don't know what polls you were talking about. I saw a Fox poll or an ABC poll that said Biden was leading 50 to 48.
Yeah, I was watching this week with George Stephanopoulos this morning, and you're right. Overall, Biden has a tiny lead, but in the swing states, Trump is winning or tied in every one of them, in all of the 7 swing states.
Well, they'll be busy cleaning up floods because Iowa flooded this morning. Yeah. They had a levee break.
I don't know if Iowa's considered a swing state though.
Several there are people in these swing states that are not going to vote for Trump. I'm telling you.
I don't disagree with that, but I mean, there's people in blue states that are not going to vote for Biden too, right?
I don't know. I've seen less. I am seeing less and less Republicans on TikTok. How many of you had in the box today?
Not well. My YouTube page is loaded with MAGA. I don't know what on my TikTok page, which is where the audio is coming from. I would love to speak to MAGA, but yeah, on TikTok I get far more left wingers, but on YouTube I got heaps of MAGA.
And MAGA women have been coming into our lives, and once they understand what's at stake, Project 2025 has gone mainstream, and so is Trump's mental condition. ABC was talking about it. PBS was talking about it. You know, they always talk about Biden, but they overlook Trump's huge gaffes. Yeah.
I will say this, though. I watched about 25 minutes because Trump had a rally in Pennsylvania a couple of days ago, and he stopped off at a hoagie or a Subway shop in Philadelphia. I watched him interact with the folks who were going to attend the rally, interacting with the staff. He looks a lot fresher than Biden. I'm just going to say that. I mean, Trump has some gas. Hell, so do I. But in terms of... Say that again?
He's trying to... Okay, after he's called Joe sleepy and all this, now on his rallies, he is going on about how Joe Biden's getting a shot or whatever in the behind. Yeah. Joe Biden does not do drugs. I mean, look at the man. He even took the subway back and forth when he was a senator. Like, he is the least likely of the Senate to do drugs. But if you look at what drugs were dispensed in the White House under Donald Trump, that list even included ketamine, everything. I was like, good Lord, what are they doing up there?
Yeah, I understand your point. I'm just simply saying, when you look at Biden out in public and you look at Trump out in public, Trump is similar to how Obama interacted with the crowd. I mean, he's comical. He actually, even when I was at a Trump rally, he said something I favored, so I gave him an applause, pointed at me and winked and things like that. Biden don't do that stuff. So even if you believe that everything Trump is saying, even if you think Biden is lying or Trump rather, even if you think Trump is lying 100%, he's interacting with the crowd.
You can say that all you want to, but let's watch that debate.
Yeah. I don't disagree with that, but I'm simply saying that.
Going to tell the story. And Trump's, people are already saying he won't listen to anybody, and especially not Marco Rubio. Let's be honest. That debate is going to tell us everything we need to know. And people can sit there and say what they want to about Biden, but in the Her report, after it tried to dirty him up, it said he had a photographic memory.
Yeah. I don't, so I'll say this, Andy. I do agree with you. I agree with you that the debate will let us know if Biden is out of his mind, like MAGA says, or if he's, within his faculties. But at the end of the day, do you think it's really going to change any hearts and minds on who to vote for?
No, but I think Project 2025 that's all over the news that I've been talking about for 8 months will, because Alabama's already changed its constitution to meet some of the requirements of Project 2025, while they're saying that it really don't exist. Like the Alabama Constitution now says men have rights and women's rights go to the sanctity of the womb.
Yeah, I will say this in regards to Agenda 47 and Project 2025. You and I've talked many times, and I believe one of Biden's biggest detriments, where I give Trump the win, is Trump go out and speak to the people. Like Charlemagne the God said, the guy that Biden said, vote for me, you ain't black, the host he told that to. Trump actually is Trump can tell a lie better than Biden can tell the truth. Biden should be out there, just like Trump is about immigration and immigrants hurting people or not being able to identify a woman in, sports where the girls' records are being broke. Biden should be out there preaching Agenda 47 and Project 2025 over and over again. He's not doing it enough.
You know what I heard in what all you said? No policy. That's all gender politics, or it's all special interest talking points for the right. None of what you said translates into policy unless it's to get rid of people they don't like.
Well, they don't. Like I think they.
The Alabama Constitution invalidated all LGBTQIA plus marriages. That's what Republicans are about. That's why Joe Biden signed the Marriage Act that protected that and interracial marriage, because he knows how Clarence Thomas and them are at the Supreme Court. And that was actual legislation too. That wasn't a executive order. See, that's the one thing I like about Joe Biden that I don't like about Donald Trump. Donald Trump wrote a bunch of executive orders that can be flipped over and revoked. Joe Biden went after the things that were really important through legislation. That's why he didn't want to do the border through executive order. He wanted it done through legislation. And Republicans complain about that border endlessly, but there have been 3 border bills, and the last one was clean as they get, and they still wouldn't sign it because the night before, Donald Trump said no. So when they complain about the border, I just tune that out now, because that's nonsense, because their perception of reality versus reality are completely not even the same.
I hear you, and I certainly believe that Trump certainly destroyed the border bill, even though they say it was trash. It was because Trump didn't want them to come up with some kind of border bill.
Comprehensive border bill in U.S. history.
But I will say this: Biden should have did the executive action first, and then he could have passed the bipartisan bill on top of it. He shouldn't have waited 3 years, in my opinion.
Well, the problem is he came in with a bill. Joe Biden came in with a plan. Trump ain't even got a clue.
You don't have a clue, huh?
You got to have legislation. If you go read his page, it's Agenda 47. Where is the real legislation in that? Joe Biden does more drilling than Donald Trump. That drill, baby, drill. How much more does he want to drill? Biden gave out more permits than Trump did.
Let me just say this before okay, I do have to move it on, but let me say this. When you talk about Trump's lack of policies, I, in my personal opinion, believe you're playing chess when Trump's playing checkers. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. If Trump gets reelected, would Justice Clarence Thomas being 75 and Justice Alito being 74, and both of those men are very favorable to Trump, he could ask them to step down for the good of the party, allow them to appoint somebody that's in their 40s and 50s, and that would guarantee America would be leaning right for at least the next 30 years or so. All of the policies you're saying that Trump is not issuing, that stuff comes and goes, Andy. Having a Supreme Court that leans right for the next 30 years, that's huge.
That's the reason why women are going to come out and vote en masse. Okay. Tomorrow is the women's strike. For those who don't know, women are going to be wearing red. We're not going to work. If we can take the day off, we're going to take the day off. Women also will not be spending any money tomorrow. So if you vote blue, don't spend a dime tomorrow. Show the U.S. economy we mean business. We're also going to be having marches downtown because tomorrow is the 2nd anniversary of the overturning of Roe. And we want people to know we haven't forgotten.
Well, we'll see how it turns out. Alabama, wow. Appreciate you coming on, Andy. You know what I got to do. All right, moving the program on. And that's what I was saying. A lot of folks... and I'm talking about liberals. I understand my beloved MAGA. I already know Trump is the know-all, end-all. I get it. It makes sense if you lean right. But to the liberals and some of the independents that lean left, that do not favor Biden, maybe because of his economy, maybe because of what they're paying at the pump, maybe because of the increase in inflation, my response is the same. 10, 15 years from now, the price of fuel at the pump under Biden will barely be a footnote in what we're discussing 10, 15 years from now. But if Trump wins those 2 Supreme Court justices he puts in to replace Clarence Thomas and Judge Alito, we'll still be talking about them. They'll still be making decisions. So I just want to point that out when I said playing checkers as opposed to chess. The issues that many on the left have with Biden are very, very temporary. Basically, economies come and go. I mean, simply put, economies come and go. Nobody talks about what the economy was like under Richard Nixon anymore. That stuff comes and goes. But when you get to make a Supreme Court appointments, that's around for a very long time. Very long time. So this is conversation for those on the left who are voting to get back $2 gas. Just understand, $2 gas will not be part of the discussion 15 years from now. Those Supreme Court picks will be. And as I stated, if Trump is successful in November, it's almost a shoo-in, almost a guarantee. I'd be willing to wager and pay 5 to 1. 5 to 1. I'd take a bet and be willing to pay 5 to 1 that Trump would have no problem asking and successfully getting both Clarence Thomas and Judge Alito to retire during his term to allow him 2 more picks. It's almost a virtual guarantee. Now, he's already put in 3, Amy Coney Barrett, Kavanaugh, and I can't think of the other one. He's already got 3 that are fairly young, that'll be around for at least a generation, probably. If he gets 2 more, I know my beloved MAGA loves hearing this. But fact is, if Trump gets reelected and he can put in 2 more Supreme Court justices that are around my age, because I think Amy Coney Barrett's about a year younger than me, about my age, he would have 5 right-leaning justices. And you know we're talking about Trump, so they're going to be like loyalists. 5 of them that are all probably 55 years of age or younger. This is what I'm asking my liberals. $2 gas, would you be okay with that for $2 gas? So I do want you folks to point that out. Now, this is what I'm talking about also when I say Biden doesn't speak to the people. Talking about the economy, the price at the pump, when you're faced with a potential of a right-leaning America for the next 30 years, why is he running on the economy? By the way, that's a huge benefit to Trump. I do believe that if Trump is reelected, appointing 5 Supreme Court justices, he would go down in history as one of the most consequential presidents in our nation's history. 5? 5? I mean, serious. 5 Supreme Court justices. Long after he's gone, his effect will still be benefiting the Republican Party. Just think of it like that. I'm just saying, you guys are talking about $2 gas and all this other bullshit that goes away 5 or 6 years from now. That stuff is like come and go stuff. Anyhow, looking in the comments. Hello, China. Hello, Russia. Hello, Iran. Hello, Kim. It's all yours. Do what you want with it. Is that some type of freaky porno invitation? I don't get that one. Republicans lower gas when they are in office, says Nana Gent. Well, I'm not going to even debate who lowers gas or not. As I just stated, you're talking about if let's say, for instance, you are a liberal or you lean left to some degree, and you actually are willing to believe what was just stated there, that Republicans lower gas when you're talking 5 Supreme Court justices under 60. Would you be willing to accept that if I could lower your gas a little bit? I mean, if you're on the right, let's say Biden could bring fuel back down to $1.50 per gallon. Would you be willing to re-elect Biden and let him get multiple Supreme Court picks so he could have $1.50 gas? You guys are playing small ball. You guys really are. Going back to the box, continuing the program on with Redman, and we're not talking about the guy who hangs around with Method Man. Redman 86, good evening.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing good. Good to have you on. Asking a question: if your opposing candidate is elected, what do you fear most?
Biden for sure.
He's your opposing candidate. Redman, are you there?
Yes, sir. I apologize. I was with my daughter.
So your opposing candidate is Biden, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What are you concerned with most if Biden is reelected?
Well, the border is a gigantic problem. I live in South Texas, so I'm pretty affected by it locally from a local standpoint. So that's one of the main things. And I also will add that both parties have an issue with spending. That would be also a concern because I read an article that says that our national defense spending is equivalent to our payment on our interest on our debt. Wow. So that's
but you don't think that Trump's going to bring down spending either, do you?
No, I don't. No, I don't. He's not. The thing is, the people punish the politicians when they try to go after Social Security or social programs or any of that. So no one really runs on dealing with those problems. So.
Well, you're correct that people are always going to punish the politicians when they go at the social programs because removing social programs punishes the people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you want to be a country that is void of social programs?
Not completely. I think we need a lot of them, like with our vets and with certain situations.
Give me some social programs. Hardships. Give me some you believe that should be eradicated.
Well, I mean, of course, I'm not an expert in the social programs we have, so I guess I'd have to do a little research on that.
Okay.
But I know for a fact that most of our spending goes to social programs.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, this country has a lot of people in it. I mean, but at the same time, do you believe we waste?
There's got to be a line. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, go ahead. There got to be a line. Keep going.
No, there's got to be a line of, how we're going to address problems to the American people if we don't talk about the problems. So if every politician is going to run and call, each other names and what have you, ain't nothing going to get done, Now
you're voting for, you're mentioning calling each other names and you support Trump. You're going to get a lot more of that with him than Biden.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Trump's mouth is, I'm not a fan of Trump's mouth. Okay. I'm not. He gets him in trouble all the time. So, again, I just think there's some problems that are facing the country that are a lot more dire than what some of the politicians are discussing. So,
examples. Well, you mentioned the border. What other pressing examples do you believe that really is either not being addressed or that is falling apart under President Biden, in addition to the border?
Well, I will also, the commander-in-chief position is one of the hardest jobs in the world.
True.
So it takes a lot of mental and physical demand.
Okay.
And I don't think Biden is even remotely capable of, in fact, I don't think he's doing it right now. I think someone else is ushering him around. But
you feel confident? Now, Trump is almost 80 himself. You feel confident he could be in there until he's in his early 80s and be, alert and within his faculties? You feel confident in that?
Well, you could tell he's, not a spry chicken like he was, but I've watched an entire Trump rally. In fact, I've watched a couple of them, and they're hours long, some of them. And he doesn't miss a beat. He's rolling and strolling.
I would submit to you. I'm not a fan
of his mouth sometimes, but I like his policy.
Yeah, I would submit to you 5 years ago, Betty White was capable of standing up through a rally as well. She was still working. She's no longer with us. I mean, when you get to be that age.
Yes, sir. I completely understand.
Yeah, so I understand what Trump looks like now, but the man is going to be in his 80s throughout his term.
And I also agree with you, sir. Earlier, you stated that you think one of the main problems with Biden is he doesn't greet the people and he doesn't interact with the people. And that's another one of my qualms is Trump's. You can't say that about Trump. True. He's out there shaking hands and,
Yeah, Trump is really good. Like I said, I've been to a couple rallies myself. Trump is really good with interacting with the people. Now, what my only qualms with Trump is he's not always honest, but the people eat it up. I mean, he says things that what? And people just go apeshit over it. I mean, like we've been talking about Biden's whole term, and they've been saying that under Biden, 10 million illegals have come in this country. First of all, a lot of folks on the left and even some of the unbiased analysts say it's nowhere near 10 million. Yesterday or the day before when Trump had his rally in Pennsylvania, he said it was 18 million. I mean, that's just completely made up. And his audience just ate that up. Like, that's completely fabricated.
Well, absolutely. That's not he doesn't know that for sure.
Yeah.
The number is closer to 10 to 12, but I'm thinking he's like, when he says that number, it's the ones that we don't know about,
And he
Those
does?
are the ones that we know about.
And he somehow does?
Hey, man, your guess is as good as mine. Like I said,
yeah, I mean,
I can't defend everything the man does.
And that's what I'm saying. And that's what I'm saying is his audience doesn't hold him accountable. Like Biden, when he said, vote for me and you ain't black, a lot of African Americans held him accountable for that. When Trump says these things, there is no holding him accountable, such as he won the election by a landslide. I don't even see people on the right saying, but could you prove that, sir? Do you have any evidence of that? You keep saying this at every rally. It's 3 years out. Do you have any evidence that you actually won by a landslide? There's no evidence of that. And the folks on the right continues eating it up.
I will 100% agree with you. And, the denial looks childish, and, when Trump denies it. And, I will say that that the whole media complex kind of turned their cannons on Trump and, hushed a lot of other information that would have hurt Biden. You do realize Pecker at the Alvin Bragg trial admitted that they were using the National Enquirer, which is a media source, to hush Trump's opponents. The whole Ted Cruz's dad killing John F. Kennedy. That is an Enquirer story that was completely fabricated, posted in that publication, and then Trump was using it at rallies and things like that when Ted Cruz was his adversary. So I'm not saying that the media doesn't work with the left, but the National Enquirer is a clear example, even according to Pecker, who is over the Enquirer, that they were working directly with Trump, a presidential candidate, a media source. So Trump is willing to do that too. Yes, sir. I will 100% agree with you. I will say, sir, I got to go. My kids are getting ready to eat here, but it's a pleasure to be on the show, sir, and I appreciate you for having me. And I would like to come back if I could.
Anytime. My door's always open. My sentiments exactly. Good talk, man. Enjoy your kids.
Good talk, sir.
Absolutely. Moving the program on, what do you fear most? By the way, folks, this is indeed civilized dialogue, both sides of the aisle. Without any concern of being blocked, banned, or censored, follow the program. If that is what you favor, to my TikTok viewers, YouTube, feel free to drop a subscription. By the way, Monday through Friday, 1 p.m. Central is when we're generally here. We normally have about 2 to 3 times as many viewers, but that is when we run Monday through Friday weekdays. 1,300 hours is when we're here. All right, looking in the comments, too, and I appreciate the follows that are for you folks. The trumpet make you hate Trump the most. I don't understand that one. They always have to pull a goal when they're in the corner. Well, the man had kids in the background. Be nice to the guests. I worry that Biden is still in office, says DK. A lot of folks suggest that Biden is not currently running this country and it's someone else. My QAnon folks suggest everything from it's James Woods filling in, or Drew Carey is an actor, and that Biden. I got folks that believe Biden is no longer with us. Others believe he's in Gitmo. I mean, I get a lot of explanations for President Biden. I'd be curious to see what those change to after Thursday. Going back to the box, we'll continue on with apple pie. As American as apple pie 4.0. Apple pie, good evening.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Good to have you on. What is your chief concern if your opposing candidate is elected in November?
I definitely don't want Biden back in because, I can clearly read all the documents everything he's done and, with the documents case and all that, but he's never being prosecuted. So, we can kind of put that aside.
So what is it about Biden? I mean, we see how the country is right now. What is it about Biden that you're most concerned with if he gets elected again?
I don't think we're going to have a Constitution anymore.
Damn. You believe Biden would toss out the Constitution?
I believe he's going to put us in wartime. So he's going to put us in lockdown.
Well, we went into wartime with George W. Bush and we didn't lose the Constitution.
Yeah, he's part of a whole different program. So, we didn't lose it. But, you have to think outside the box. Like, what are these guys thinking about? We understand, that we pretty much understand the CIA controls everything.
Mm. So what would make Biden, why would Biden be after the Constitution? Explain to me. What would be the goal? What is he trying to replace it with?
They're pushing this whole democracy thing. Even CNN, I was watching an episode on CNN.
You said they're pushing democracy? Isn't that what republic, isn't that what we want?
They said we're not a constitutional republic. They said we're a democracy.
Okay.
And I was like, what? Did I just see that on live television? I'm like, what the shit? And we all know that, there's outside money making these people say what they're going to say. They're not going to have a job, basically.
Yeah, well, it's in the Pledge of Allegiance to the Republic for which it stands. I get your point. But what I'm asking, though, is if Biden is reelected, you mentioned this democracy. So how do you believe America would change with 4 more years of Biden in the White House?
Well, what happened under Obama? So I didn't get into politics till about 2006 or 8. I can't remember really. But,
end of the Bush term, okay.
And I was kind of watching, and I voted for Biden or Obama twice.
Okay.
So I'm like, So I'm watching.
So you were not a fan of John McCain or Mitt Romney?
Not so much.
Okay.
Just because I didn't believe they was true. Obama can kind of lead people. Now I see it, what he led people to believe. You
didn't believe McCain? McCain has been considered a war hero up until Trump got elected. You didn't think McCain was true?
I get it. I fell into a fucking. It's the same thing we're dealing with right now. It's weird. Like the news is just, even Fox News. It's like, what? What did you just say?
Yeah.
It's everything against the people. There's so much divide between all these news ordinance. It drives me nuts because they did the same thing back then.
So okay, let me start out. Let me start out where you got in. You mentioned you got in the game around 2006. You voted for Obama twice. How do you believe Obama performed? If you had to give him a letter grade, A, B, C, D, or F, like we used to get in schools, what would you give for Obama?
I'm going to give him an F. But he did put things in place that came into play later into Trump's administration, which helps things. But I think he planned on Hillary Clinton getting in.
Wait a minute. What letter grade did you give Obama?
I gave him an F.
F. You voted for him twice. So what made you reelect him over Mitt Romney in 2012, a man you gave an F?
I was kind of mesmerized by the whole talking thing. Like I wasn't smart enough. Like I didn't understand things like I do now.
You had him in office for 4 years. You didn't see the economy or maybe the direction of America or maybe him saying Trayvon Martin could be his only son. None of the things he was doing, you voted for him anyway.
I did not pay attention enough. And it was a downfall for me. And I think that's a downfall for everybody.
All right. So then we got Trump in 2016 versus Hillary. Now, who did you vote in 2016 for?
Oh, definitely Trump.
Okay. 2020?
That's when I started waking up to all the bull crap.
Okay. In 2020, did you vote for him over Biden?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Okay. Now, what letter grade would you give? You voted for Obama twice, gave him an F.
Well, you know, this is how I'm going to put it. You know, I look back through history with Biden because it kind of woke me up, all the bullshit going on, like, sorry, excuse my language.
Don't worry about it.
But all the crap going on with the news medias, and I said, like, let's do some little history digging. So I dug into Biden and just kind of, nah. His whole career he's a career politician. We shouldn't have that. He lied through his whole career. He attacked multiple black people. He made a bill that, would throw black people in jail, which I'm not saying because, you're, whatever. But I'm just saying, like, that's not humanity. No. We, the people, control this. We don't let Congress control this, or we don't let these people control this.
Well, here's one of the things I want to, because you mentioned in the crime bill of the early the 94 crime bill that Biden co-authored with other folks. But when you talk about African Americans being locked up or dealing with this, targeted.
They were targeted.
How do you feel about stop and frisk? Do you think that affects blacks at all?
Stop and what?
Stop and frisk, randomly stopping blacks and just checking them for weapons, checking them for crimes. They're not doing anything, just walking down the street or just driving down the highway, randomly stopping folks, stop and frisk.
Yeah, no, I don't approve of that.
Okay. Now, you do know Rudolph Giuliani, a close friend of Trump, is like the grandfather of stop and frisk, and that Trump is on.
See, now you're going into something different. Now you're going to different category because of what was going on in New York City. The crime rate was ridiculous.
And you don't think the 94 crime bill that Joe Biden authored is for the same reason, that the crack epidemic was ridiculous and most of the country favored the crime bill?
See, what the problem was is they was using the American people to create these crime bills by creating problems. The CIA is the first ones that brought all these drugs into the United States. Right?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the reason you're giving for Giuliani coming up with stop and frisk is the same reason that Biden should get for coming up with the crime bill.
I don't support that.
So
I don't support him, or I don't support him, but might be tied to Trump, but I don't support him, and I don't support Biden.
But Trump himself is on record saying he supports stop and frisk.
Where? I want to look that up.
Okay, and while you should have no problem looking up.
I have a piece of paper right here. Where can I look that up at?
Google. Just Google. Let me give you even more.
All right.
You've heard of Sheriff Joe Arpaio down in Arizona?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He was claiming that he was having a huge issue with immigrants coming into Arizona from across the border. I'm not saying he may not be telling the truth, but he was having a huge issue with immigrants coming in. And he ordered his deputies, once again, to stop and frisk basically brown people, demanding they had proof of residency or documentation to prove they could be in America. Meaning that you're stopping everybody that looks brown. You could be stopping naturally born Americans. Hold on, hang on. I'm not done yet. All right. Go ahead. Sheriff Joe Arpaio, for ordering his deputies to stop and frisk brown people, which is a clear violation of their Fourth Amendment right, was indicted, found guilty, and about to be sentenced to prison for violating the Fourth Amendment rights of brown people. Guess who pardoned him for that?
I'm going to say you're going to say Trump.
I am going to say Trump. Yeah, I am going to say Trump. You should easily be able to do research and find it, but he was going to prison
right now. I mean, I don't think you're going to change my mind because I'm watching the economy right now. So
okay. No, it's not about changing your mind. It's just about having a discussion. But I'm saying,
I get it.
If you're going to hold Biden accountable for what may have happened to African Americans with the crime bill, I'm just pointing out, Trump has some affiliations that are no better.
I get that. I mean, but maybe he didn't see what was actually being put in place as the years went on, because everything has to be done in stages.
Sheriff Joe Arpaio went through a court of law. He had a chance to defend himself. Sheriff Joe Arpaio is no poor man. He was found guilty and about to go to prison for violating people's Fourth Amendment rights.
No, I get that. But was they legal or illegal? What was his record on that?
Well, if you're ordering your deputies to stop people and demand citizenship papers or that they have you're guaranteed to stop some naturally born Americans who should not be.
Okay, so then that runs to, are we protecting America?
You can't protect America by violating people's constitutional rights. Do you want people to just take your gun and run it through registration to protect America?
No, I'm just curious if it was more illegals detained than non-illegals. So then you fall under, the constitutional right of protecting the United States.
Well, you raised a good question, and I will tell you that even if you are, as you say, trying to protect America, you don't get the right to violate somebody's I mean, let's say, for instance, I thought taking everybody's guns away would save people from getting shot. I can't take away your Second Amendment right because I think it's protecting America. He was taking away people's Fourth Amendment right. You can't do that, even if it does help some people out.
I get that, but we're part of a corporation now. We're not even we're technically, they don't even run under the Constitution anymore. Do you understand that?
We don't run under the Constitution. When did that start happening?
Only in Supreme Courts.
I've never heard this.
Well, I mean, they're breaking laws. Like, our borders are wide open right now. I mean, that's against the Constitution. You're people are dying because people are coming across the border.
Apple pie, sir. I'm black. You do realize we've always violated the Constitution, right?
Oh, that's what I'm saying. No, I understand.
Yeah. You're bringing it up like that's something new.
It's not new. That's what like, we got to get to the source of the problem. And the source of the problem is basically the government. They've created their own monopoly.
Okay, well, I mean, I would say that's kind of some semantics. I'm just simply saying you can't violate people's Fourth Amendment right. And what Sheriff Joe Arpaio did, 100%. And what Trump pardoned him for doing, was violating the rights of minorities.
No, I get it, but what was he trying to do it for?
Doesn't matter.
Figure out, like, what's going on here? Like, we have people, I mean, he was big on the wall, which that, we shouldn't have to have a wall, but we do have a lot of immigration and a lot of things go on. I literally live down the road from a taco place. The guy immigrated here, and now he owns his own restaurant, and he's a good dude.
Okay.
Love him to death. He hooks me up all the time, and we bullshit and hang out and all that. But he immigrated, across the border, but he became a legal citizen.
Okay.
He literally took the time and turned himself in and became a legal citizen.
Okay. No, I'm just simply saying, you brought up Biden's crime bill and what it's done at minorities, and I'm just simply saying Trump has played a part in ruining the lives of minorities as well. That's all I'm saying.
But is that it? No, but is that in the effort of protecting American citizens?
I would assume that Biden's crime bill, he would be able to orate ways and say this was in the line of protecting American citizens. I'm sure he could say the same thing. At the end of the day, either you're harming people or you're not.
Well, I get it. We're always going to have that deflection of somebody's going to just have to be stopped and talked to. I mean, if you're running bad tags or whatever, we shouldn't have to run tags at all. So whatever.
You can't stop. Wait, hold on. You can't stop an American and demand they prove they have a right to be in this country. It is as simple. That is a violation of the Fourth Amendment right, flat out. Well, unwarranted searches and seizures.
No, I agree with you.
Right.
But we have a tag system they put in place, like you have license plates. So if your license plates match your vehicle, then you're good. So what was part of that bill?
He was stopping people that were walking on the street.
Well, that's also a problem.
So right. The same thing we're holding Biden accountable for. You're ruining the lives of minorities.
Okay, so we're both on the same page.
Okay.
We're putting American people in jail when we don't need to put American people in jail.
Absolutely. And that's what I'm saying the only point I'm trying to make is that if you don't favor Biden because of the crime bill and what he may have done to African Americans,
that's not the only reason.
Well, I get that, but I'm simply saying, and not just you, sir, I'm saying anyone. If you look at Biden and says the chief reason I'm not voting for him is he has legislation that has hurt African Americans, I'm just simply saying voting for Trump in a situation like that, you're not getting less of that in Trump. Trump has a history of it as well. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I think Trump's going to be more to shut the government closer down than what Biden would, because, you know, obviously the $1 trillion infrastructure bill. Have you read that? It took me 3 months to read it.
Wow.
Yes.
You believe Trump is going to shut the government down?
Well, it would minimize. I think he would minimize more government and leave more of the power towards us. You see what I'm saying?
I hear your point.
We, the people in the states, would have more power than the government, and that's what they're afraid of.
Yeah.
So if you read the infrastructure bill, most of that money did not go to the American people or to our infrastructure.
Well, I can't. Like I said, I have not read the bill, but I will say this: one thing that
actually read it.
Hold on, yeah, I hear you said it's 300 pages long. I hear your point, but I will say this: one thing that I do personally have a fear of,
300 pages.
Just because of American history. This is something because you mentioned states' rights. Being a minority, states' rights has been horrendous. The history, unless we're going to pretend like states' rights would have nothing to do with the past, America's history concerning states' rights has been awful to people like me. So I do have a concern about that, because there is no good history to states' rights in America for people like me.
As a person, I don't see you any different.
States' rights, the history of states' rights did.
Yes. So that means we have a problem as people. Our states are not doing what we need them to do. Leave us the fuck alone. Excuse my language.
I'm just simply saying that states' rights is literally founded on leave us the fuck alone. Even during slavery, telling the North, leave us the fuck alone. I'm just simply saying that when every time I've heard a state saying I should have the right to do something without government interference, it's usually the right to take away or limit somebody else. I've never heard of a state saying I should be able to give people rights. It's usually to take them away from somebody.
Yes, that's part of the corporation.
Right. Well, then we all live in that. I got to move it on, apple pie. Good talk.
All right, sir.
Doors are with them. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Moving the program on, and thank you for the super chat, Ryan Sharkley. Remember when George Carlin said the system threw the overboard years ago. Problems trickle up. Agendas trickle down. Who are you really voting for? I do agree. I don't know. Problems trickle up. I think it can go both ways, because you can have problems that develop from the people at the top. So I think problems can trickle both ways, but I'm big fan of George Carlin, the late George Carlin, but you say the system threw the overboard years ago. I don't quite get what you're saying there. Either don't vote or vote third party. All candidates should be on the ballot, not a select few based on region. I mean, you know how the system is ran. I mean, I don't, you can put as many candidates on the ballot as you want. At the end of the day, people are going to vote for Trump or Biden. Those other candidates, they could spoil the chances for Trump or the chances for Biden. But at the end of the day in November, the winner is going to be either Trump or Biden. That's it. That is, you got a binary choice. One of those gentlemen is going to be president. If Kennedy or, some of these other candidates, they'll get some votes. Maybe their votes will hurt Trump. Maybe their votes will hurt Biden. But at the end of the day, your president come November is going to be Trump or Biden. Those other folks are not going to win. They're just spoilers. They really are. They are just spoilers. Look at in the comments. If you have a birth certificate, you are in the corporation and they took out a loan on you. I've heard that before, but at the end of the day, if I'm not paying on the loan, it's kind of complicated. I'm not paying on the loan. I'm not responsible for it. I mean, if you work at a job, a lot of companies take out insurance on you that you'll never receive any of the proceeds for. You don't have to pay any of the premiums, but a lot of corporations that you may work for take out life insurance policies on you and everything. So, I mean, it is what it is. Going back to the box, you pay on that loan through income taxes. Everybody in this country don't even pay taxes to say. Yes, you can look up the number on the back of your Social Security card. That will tell you what. All right. Moving the program on, though. We'll continue on with Scars for Life. Good evening. Welcome to the program. What concerns you most if your candidate of choice does not win? Scars for Life. Good evening.
How you doing today, bro?
I'm doing good. So, start out by asking you, right, do you lean left or right?
I lean towards common sense.
Which, right now in 2024, where is your common sense directing you between Trump and Biden?
Biden.
Why? What's leaning you away from Trump?
He's making it okay for racists to be out front and personal.
Give me some examples. What do you mean? Elaborate.
The good old boys. Let's say the khaki gang with the tiki torches.
The khaki gang.
You know, the good Americans that were, you know, waving the Nazi flags and stuff like that. They call, you know, they were just good American people.
Wow.
You know.
So, but do you see Trump himself as racist at all?
Absolutely. If you're going to allow people like David Duke and people like that to fund you, how can you not say they're not?
Well, according to Trump, he didn't know who David Duke even was.
I'm 50. I learned about David Duke when I was 7.
Hold on a second. I'm trying to take something out of my damn here. All right. I got this thing in my window. All right. So you said you learned about David Duke when you were 7. Yeah. So why do you think Trump would say he didn't know him?
For the same reason why he tried to cover up the money that he paid Stormy Daniels.
Mm. Well, he says he never had...
The same reason why he won't give up his tax releases and stuff like that. All those things that he was asking Obama for, he won't give out. Wow. Why? Because he knows he's wrong.
So it almost sounds like you believe that Trump is dishonest.
I mean, the people that he picked to say that he was not dishonest said that he was dishonest 34 times.
Well, but a lot of folks believe that those felonies are just fabricated election interference just because they don't want the guy to get reelected. Many would suggest that if Trump was not running for office, that stuff would have never came to court.
And there's a magical bunny that jumps around and poops out eggs and gives you all kinds of chocolate. And then there's this jolly old guy that likes to, he's huge as hell and likes to come down your chimney and give you presents.
But seriously, do you think that any of the stuff that Trump is facing is political at all?
Let me ask you this. Close your eyes. Imagine all these felonies. Imagine all this stuff that's going on with Trump. Imagine that was Obama.
Probably wouldn't
be
good.
Hung Obama in his tan suit on the White House steps. Fuck out of here.
I hear the
racist because they can. Now they're out in the open again. They're giving me my flag back. What for? Why would you want a losing flag? You want to chastise a man who peacefully protested, but you want to give kudos to the mother and a son who drove across state lines to shoot people.
Wow.
Come on, man, let's make it make sense. Make it make sense. You want to sit here and say that there's no type of white privilege. Okay.
Well, wait a minute.
I remember when there was a woman that got 5 years in prison because she wanted her child to go to a better school.
Yeah, I do remember that.
She got 5 years in prison.
Yeah.
And the woman that did it right next to her didn't even get probation.
Yeah, but you mentioned.
Tell me what color that woman was.
She was. I remember the story. She was an African American woman. But let me ask you this though. You mentioned white privilege. Trump has stated recently that it is an anti-white sentiment in America, and America has become more biased against white men, and he stated that that would not happen under his watch. Why does he have such a different opinion than you?
Because of the simple fact that the history's repeating itself, but this time it's on the other end. People don't realize that everything that goes around on this earth, it comes back around full circle. Now, sometimes what was first is last. And that's just the way it goes. Now, what they're trying to do, that's why they're trying to get rid of abortions and all that stuff, because they're trying to get the numbers up. The numbers are down. They want all these white women to have all these kids. And that's who they're taking these powers away from. And see, and that's what's wrong with some of these white women. They don't understand is that if it wasn't for civil rights, they would have no rights. If it wasn't for Jesse Jackson and all of them fighting for what they were fighting for us, to make sure they included them. So that way they didn't have to stay home getting beat, barefoot and pregnant in their houses like they were.
Yeah, but when you say they want to get rid of abortion so that white women would have more kids, wouldn't getting rid of abortion also create far more minority kids? At the end of the day, minorities have children at a higher rate than whites to begin with.
Mm-hmm. But white women have higher abortion rates than anybody.
Is that true?
You know,
I've not heard that before. But
and see, my thing also, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying, a lot of folks point to Margaret Sanger suggesting that she created Planned Parenthood with the goal of getting rid of, the black population, and that banning abortion should be viewed, blacks should view abortion bans favorably, because at the end of the day, it creates and saves more black lives.
Planned Parenthood was put together by the Black Panthers, just like WIC was. They put it together because that way that you wouldn't go to those back alley abortion clinics and get hurt and end up with infections and everything else. They put that together. That was the Black Panthers that did that.
Yeah.
So and then everybody that's crying about Biden, oh, he's a racist. He put together the '94 crack bill, or the whatever bill. Okay, you know what? My grandmother, my mother,
right,
my aunties, my grandfather, my uncles, they voted for that bill because of people like me.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I'm a second generation gang member, and I was a menace. I was born in the 70s, raised in the 80s, and I was a 90s menace.
You was old dog? You was old dog?
I mean, it's just the fact that it was because of people like me. It was us. It was us kids that were just wreaking havoc. We had no structure. Everything was lawlessness. You know what I'm saying? Because 90% of my friends, their parents was on the street. I served a lot of them. You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
So a lot of us didn't have that parent to go home to. A lot of us went home and made noodles for our kid sisters or kid brothers. I remember watching my buddies do that type of stuff, and they had to get out there and make that money.
Yeah.
They put
and that is
missing though. Hold on. What they're missing about that '94 bill is the fact that they left it in the hands of the states to see fit on how they wanted to do it. California implemented the 3 strikes law. It wasn't Biden that did that with his '94 crack bill. It wasn't that. It was the state of California that did that. It was the state of Texas that did that. It was all the states that implemented the 3 strikes. New York.
Yeah, one of the things I always say in regards to the '94 crime bill, one of the things I always say when Biden is taking flack for it is, name me a Republican that was opposing it. I mean, he didn't do it by himself. He was only a senator. He didn't do it by himself. There was no Republican opposition to the '94 crime bill either. So I get your point, and you're right. A lot of states used that bill to impose draconian laws and sentences on the black and minority community. I don't disagree with that at all. It's just Biden all of a sudden now that he's running for president again, or that he's president, is taking flack for it. But he didn't do that by himself. I got to move it on, no scars.
All right.
Appreciate it. Good talk, man.
I appreciate you.
Thank you. Come on back anytime. All right, moving the program on. Lord, I'm losing brain cells in here. Trump 2024, I'm out, says Tough Being Blonde. Shout out to my female MAGA. I always say shout out to my female MAGA because everybody believes that the liberals are going to win the women's vote. Get a lot of female MAGA in here. So see Tough Being Blonde, you're on your way out, but shout out to you if you're still around. Looking in the comments though, did you ever get a chance to read President Biden's very own daughter's diary? No, I didn't, but I do believe there's allegations that Biden was abusing her to some degree. Here's the issue I have on some of this stuff. It's crazy how many things folks bring up on Biden while supporting Trump when Trump has a lot of similar accusations. I'm just going to bring that up. Now, if it had been Nikki Haley or Ron DeSantis or somebody else running for president, the argument would have probably had a lot more strength, a lot more weight. But Trump, you're going to talk about Biden and his daughter's diary when Trump is on national television saying he would be dating his daughter if she wasn't his daughter, saying that, telling Howard Stern the thing they have most in common is their sex life. I mean, wow. It's like you can't leave Biden because you think he's gross with his kids and vote for Trump and not realize you're kind of getting the same thing. I mean, didn't he refer to his daughter as a hot piece of ass or something like that? Trump did that on television. So I don't see how anybody supporting Trump would bring up Biden with his daughter when all of that stuff is out there on Trump. To me, that's not a good direction to take the conversation in. Looking in the comments, saying one thing is actually, oh my God, saying one thing and actually doing is very different. No, it's not. You can go to prison for possessing images of children being assaulted. You're going to say because you didn't actually do it, it doesn't matter? Are we really stupid bringing the bar down that low to make a point? I didn't actually do anything with a child. I just talked about it. Really? You're defending that? Wow. Looking in the comments, I think I'd rather have Ratman than any of your candidates. Wow. You're not the only one. I don't see how anyone could support a kid sniffer. At least Trump keeps his hands to himself. How the hell does, where you lose, and I get the kid sniffing thing. There's plenty of images of Biden with his face buried in children's hair. But as I just stated, I don't see how going from Biden, if the abuse of kids is your number one concern, and voting for Trump makes you feel better. When I'm talking about, so many sexual things about his own daughter. If she wasn't my daughter, I would be dating her. The only reason a man wants to date a woman, generally because he thinks she is fuckable. Really. Men don't just take women out on dates unless they're attracted to them, and generally the goal is eventually to fuck them. He looked at his daughter and said, if she wasn't my daughter, I'd be dating her. How is that not the equivalent of saying my own daughter, in my opinion, is fuckable? He gets a pass because he didn't actually fuck her? Really? You can defend Trump for the economy. Maybe you favor the price at the pump. You didn't have a lot of global affairs. I get it. But defending this shit? I don't want to quote Hillary Clinton, but damn, that's deplorable. The man looked at his own daughter, said I'd be dating her. Any man that talks about he would love to be dating a woman, she's fuckable to him. That's just man logic. Wow, you're giving that a pass because he actually didn't fuck her. Whoa. All right, going back to the comment section. Judith says, bye. Look, I know I'm gonna lose some folks. If you're willing to accept that, this is free speech, folks. This is free speech. We go left of Bernie Sanders from having dinner with QAnon. If you want a program that bashes Trump or bashes Biden constantly, this is not the place. I take callers from both sides of the aisle. I get it. So obviously right now, talking about Trump doesn't get a pass, some of the folks on the MAGA side may not favor that, but it is what it is. No, he was clear and said she was an upstanding woman. Winner, what is this? No, you said no, Trump was clear. And he and said she was an upstanding woman. No, he said if she wasn't my daughter, I would be dating her. He was asked, what do you and your daughter have most in common? He said sex. Howard Stern, Trump interview, he called his own daughter what did he call her? A hot piece of ass. This isn't being made up. This isn't being told to you by CNN or MSNBC. It's on television. You can easily Google or YouTube it. Saying this stuff. Like I said, you can favor the policies of Trump without trying to go into the realm of being ridiculous. If you think Trump led a better country than Biden, I get it. There's a lot of legitimate reasons to vote for Trump over Biden. But pretending like those statements are harmless, but Biden's diary or sniffing children's hair is all of a sudden a Class A felony, you're just biased. You should find both of those activities, both men, you should find questionable. If you can find Biden to be awful, but you don't have any issue with Trump at all, then yeah, you're just biased on that. Looking in the comments, though, I would never say that about my daughter. Yeah, people defending that. Wow. Let me go back to the box. That's kind of funny to some degree. Moving on, though, we will go to contractor Dez. Good afternoon. Did Trump say it one time? Does he have to say it a million times for it to matter? What? Wow, well, Biden sniffed a bunch of kids' hair. Trump only said he dated his daughter once, so Trump gets a wow, you guys are a rare form tonight. Tim, there are not a lot of legitimate reasons to vote for Trump. I totally disagree with that. Even if you're African American, I can come up with a host of reasons to vote for Trump. A lot of legitimate reasons to vote for Trump. If you're pro-life, why would you vote for Biden? You believe the Second Amendment shall not be infringed. Why would you vote for Biden? A lot of reasons. Maybe you do want the largest mass deportation in history and believe that the border is an issue with America. Why would you vote for Biden? A lot of legitimate reasons to vote for Biden. You may disagree with him, but people lean right just like they lean left. Trump wanted to infringe on the 2A, talking about the bump stocks. I get it, but you're going to get the Second Amendment defended better under a Republican president than a liberal. I just strongly believe that. Trump is a clown, says, okay, we get it. Kaduri, who millions of Jews went to Rabbi's funeral. I don't know what the hell that's all about. Chosen to suffer due to their greed for worldly. You guys are getting religious over here. I've never seen so many rundown cars with big, beautiful new flags on it. No clue what that means. Let me go back to the box. Double Luck. Good evening. Welcome to the program. Double Luck. What does that say? Folk that hasn't witnessed the border know everything about it. Yeah, same thing with Chicago. Everybody's criticizing Chicago. They've never been there. Double Luck. Good evening.
Good evening, Tim. How you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing good. Asking that question, what is most concerning about your opposing candidate if they get reelected?
So, as a military person, retiree, served 25 years.
Hold on, before you finish that statement, folks, tap the screen. We got almost 400 of you in here. Get the likes up to about 70,000. I appreciate that. Let your thumbs not be lazy. Same on YouTube. Smash that like button. Thank you for your service. Double Luck. Please continue.
So I took an oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. So yes. All our political figures take an oath similar to that, but all of them are to uphold the Constitution.
True.
So we can have degrees and differences like what you're saying on policies and even degrees on behavior. Mm-hmm. When you can say, hey, I see the people on the right giving Trump a pass a lot of times on conduct, and they act like conduct doesn't matter. But even in school, we all got academic grades, but we also got conduct grades. It tells you early on that in this life, you have to know how to act.
Plays well with others. I remember that.
and bottom line is, this person, whoever is our leader, is really our employee. They work for us, and employees can have assets about them, and they can have liabilities. And no matter how good a person can do a job, at some point, if they piss off the customers, can't get along with their fellow co-workers and things of that nature, they get fired. And that's why really Trump probably did get fired. I myself probably would have probably even given him a pass on the COVID thing just because it was a global thing. And I don't like the fact that he lied about it and, tried to act like it really wasn't as severe as what it was. But I think it's because he was just a one-trick pony and it was all about the economy. And I believe he felt that he told the truth. We're going to shut everything down, which we probably had to shut it down longer or whatever. But nonetheless, the bigger issue for me, single issue, you are to support and uphold, defend, whatever, that Constitution. Out of his own mouth after losing the election, he himself said we should terminate the Constitution. Wow. So if you how are you going to take an oath to do something again when you've already said this is how you feel about this document? So it is brazen to me to say this person wants to be a leader, and he is really doing everything to subvert America and doesn't respect the rule of law, nor does respect our different branches of government or any of that stuff. It's just and like I said, I used to be a Republican for most of my life until they nominated him in 2016 as the candidate. Because
so did you vote for McCain and Romney?
I did not, and the reason being is I just thought Obama was a better leader. I looked at it from a leadership point.
You voted for Bush. You didn't vote for John Kerry or Al Gore, did you?
No, I didn't. I voted for Bush. I voted for Bush, all the Bushes every time.
Okay.
Well, I take that back. I voted for Perot because I did buy into the whole businessman idea in
you're going back 92. To like 96 or something, 92, 96.
Yeah, 92. Yeah, 92 when Perot was in there. I believe when he was. Yeah, but I knew I was wasting my vote. I mean, I was in Alaska at the time. The country had already decided, but that's what I wanted to do. But at the end of the day, also from the military lens, you can be in a dispute with your brother or your sister. What you don't do is ask some other person to come over and help you beat your siblings rear end because you're losing the battle.
So you do believe that Trump is a threat to democracy or to the republic?
Yeah. I mean, and the whole thing is, when he said, this is what did it for me. I mean, I heard all the things about disparaging veterans and McCain and all that, which I was like, I don't really like it, but I did really believe he may do something with China because it was just an imbalance of trade. Still is an imbalance with trade, always has been since we gave him that most favored nation status. But for me, it was when he said, "Russia, if you're listening."
Oh, and yeah, find them emails.
You cannot like Hillary. I didn't really particularly like Hillary, but that pushed me over to the other side because you don't care about the country. You care about winning.
Yeah. Wow. And I will say that, and I've had discussions with viewers on the show. I definitely believe that Trump was more focused on winning than anything else, because I bring up that he stated during the 2020 election that North Carolina was cheating because Biden was winning in North Carolina right up till the election. Trump ended up winning North Carolina, but right up to the election, Biden was in the lead and Trump was alleging there was all kinds of fraud happening in North Carolina. Once he won, he never gave a damn about the fraud anymore. So basically saying, saying is, I don't mind the fraud as long as it's in my favor. So yeah.
That's at everything. He says, people say he's not racist. I don't know that he is or not, but I just know he's an opportunist. And if you're going to be a racist and you support me, I support you, type of a thing. That's what I see from him. And and I've said this before, Tim. I know you've seen this and me commenting things before. To me, the president is more than just somebody who's doing things economically. You have to be a leader, and the leader is the person who does the right thing. And this person has no moral code at all. Any core value that exists in the armed forces, he is to be the commander in chief, but he doesn't possess any of them.
74 million votes, though, Double Luck. If he's as bad as you're saying,
what I believe to be is true is I think. It's just if you look on the spectrum of what's important, the right is about the money and the left is about the rights of the people. So it's just I look at it like
you really don't think the left is about the money? You only think the right is about the money?
Yeah, that's the most important thing. I said it's on the spectrum. So I mean, you lean more one way or the other. And I think at the end of the day, the right is more about the money than anything else. Because I mean, if you say, "Hey, I care about America's view in the world," no, you don't. If you're voting right, this guy wants to pull out of NATO. I know for a fact, why does NATO even exist? It's to stop Russian aggression. And Putin himself has said he wanted to roll back things and bring back the Soviet Union. And people want to cry and complain about sending dollars, which we're not sending all these dollars. Like,
well, let me ask you. Let me ask you, because you mentioned the right is about the money and the left is about the people. My YouTube idea is going ape shit. Tech support, interesting name, says guy on the phone is a doofus. The left is about the people is a joke, and he has all these smiling emojis. What makes you say the left is about the people?
Because they're about rights. I mean, when somebody says, "Hey, I'm worried about somebody's sexuality," that means what I used to love about the Republican Party is that, hey, you mind your business and you stay in your lane. They don't do that anymore. They want to get in your bedroom.
Well, when you say the Democrats are about rights and Republicans are about, you don't think the Democrats have tried to take away the Second Amendment right?
I've heard it my entire life. I've never seen it.
Really?
So I'm 55 years old. I've never seen the left take away anybody's guns ever. It's not going to happen.
Oh, I'm from the city of Chicago. You can now get a gun in Chicago, but they were interfering with the Second Amendment, right and left. Chicago, it used to be very hard to get a gun.
Right, but you always say shall not be infringed, but you never talk about the first part of that.
Which is?
Well regulated.
Well regulated militia. What do you mean? What about it?
Well regulated mean there is regulation into talking about these arms. Even when I served in the armed forces, you couldn't have a gun just on our PPO on base at your house or in your dorm or anything like this. It's at the armory. So even our own, when it's ourselves and we're saying, "Hey, we're about this," the only people that had them were the people that was their job. Yeah. So it is a well regulated militia, and then shall not be infringed in the end. So I mean,
you really can't have both though. You can't have a well regulated with regulations and shall not be infringed. I think the two things that you can't have them both.
All right, change it then. Get it changed. My whole thing is, if you don't like anything about America, go through the legal process of getting it changed. Just like when people whine about immigration. Reagan basically gave all these people amnesty in the early 80s and said, okay, he didn't. Ever since I've been alive, we've always had a problem with immigration.
Yeah.
But people say, well, you need to do it legally. Well, okay, well, that's the same thing for everything you don't like about America. Get it changed legally the way. Hey, go to the Constitutional Convention and get something changed if you don't like it. But I agree with you. The two seem to be at odds with one another. But if they're not going to be, if we're not going to negate one or the other, then you have to somehow coexist with both of them.
Fair enough. All right, Double Look, I do got to move it on. You're right about always having a problem. You're right about always having a problem with immigration. Fact is, we always will have a problem with immigration because there are some people in this country that don't want anybody here. I mean, every group, we're talking about Hispanics mostly now coming across the southern border, but every group of immigrants that have ever came to this country were met with resistance. Italians, the Polish, the Japanese, the Chinese, every single group that has come here, there were people who did not want them here. So it only makes sense that they're bitching about it now. But I got to move it on, Double Luck. Appreciate you coming through. You too. And moving the program on as stated. By the way, tap the screen. Let your thumbs not be lazy. Get us up to 80,000. We can certainly do that. Thank you folks on YouTube as well that are smashing that like button. Every American is an immigrant. Only the Native Indians are not. That is true. The right is the Reich. Damn. That's in like the Third Reich. The right is the Reich. The left is about the labor unions, the people. The Reich wing, R-E-I-C, the Reich wing is about corporate greed and tax evasion. I think there's some corporate greed and some greed on the left as well. And the Reich, wow. You'd have to explain that. Why are you calling folks on the right? You think Tim Scott is part of the Reich? Ooh. Looking in the comments, just the Haitians were turned away. America will always be racist. No, the Jewish people were turned away too. They were suggesting that coming from Germany, they were full of communism ideals. They turned them away too. They ended up apologizing for it, I believe. And actually, I think they may even gave them a little bit of reparations. We turned away a lot of groups. And what do I say all the time in regards to immigration? Takes one to know one. My example, if you're on the street pulling jobs, committing capers, doing shady shit, you generally don't trust anybody because you know what you do on the street. Criminals don't trust a damn soul. America, the original colonizers that came to this country from England, are by far the worst immigrants to ever come to this land. As a result, once they took over the country, they don't trust anybody anymore because they know what they did. It's very similar, as I mentioned. If you're on the street committing capers, you don't trust anybody because you know what you're capable of. America, by far, is the worst group of immigrants to ever come to this country. You talk about rapists and murderers? Not their best and brightest. England was not sending their best and brightest. England sent a whole bunch of rapists and murderers to America. Completely wiped out populations. We, by far, are the worst immigrants to ever come to this country. So we know what we did, so we're suspicious of everybody else. Shit, they might be like us. And not only do we use traditional America as an example, we haven't been great in a lot of other countries we went to after that. There's a lot of countries that have been ruined because they open up their doors to the American military, American politicians. We're not a good immigrant. We don't make a good immigrant. Appreciate that, whatever that was. Thank you. Was that some kind of apple or something like that? Thank you for that. The Crown of JP Farms. Thank you. Looking in the comments, though, and as a result, we don't trust anybody because we know what we're capable of. We delusional, says Chief J. Bims. State your case. How so? You're from England now, says Chief J. No, when I say we, I mean America. I get it that my ancestors were brought here through slavery, but I'm just simply saying we, viewing us all as Americans. But the original English settlers, if you want the actual correct statement, the original English settlers were by far the worst immigrants to come to this country. How about that? Looking in the comments, that's because you only compare today's standards to the standards of the world 159 years ago. I don't give a damn what the standards were 159 years ago. Coming to a country and murdering all the people was not the gold standard. What are you saying? That was the norm to go to other countries and murder everybody so you get a pass? Really? Is that what you're trying to get across? Other people were kind of doing it too. It's like going out and biting at somebody's leg. Well, Jeffrey Dahmer did it. What the hell is that? I repeat, out of every country that has every other foreigner that has come to this land, the original English settlers were by far the worst immigrant. I don't give a damn what year it was or what era it was. They came here with the worst intentions for the owners of the land. And they didn't come here and state what they were coming here to do. They actually tried to hide it and lie about it, making treaties and deals. They came in with the worst intentions. That's a fact. What are you going to tell me? Well, back in 100, 200 years ago, lying to folks was the norm. I mean, you're making up excuses for bad behavior. Looking in the comments, countries have been murdering each other for thousands of years. What's your point? There is no point. There is no point. I'm just simply saying if you compare the list of immigrants that have come to this country, the original American or English settlers were the worst. I don't want to hear about what's happening in Egypt or Syria. If we talk about Black Lives Matter setting the town on fire, do you want to hear some shit about a riot going on in Yemen? Well, Black Lives Matter is not the only one that does it. They burn buildings down in Damascus. No. So why when we talk about American history, and I hate to bring race into it, but all of a sudden you start talking about ills that maybe some whites were involved in, we got to suddenly zoom out to every damn body else. We don't do that with Black Lives Matter or any other group. Why can't we have free speech? Why does one conversation, well, now let's include everybody else? You know how many people around the world riot and loot and set shit on fire? That doesn't come up during a Black Lives Matter discussion. So why should it come up now? Looking in the box. We, the people, live vicariously through TV, media, internet, and really don't know anything that's going on our planet. Art of mind, I would submit to you, most Americans, most people on the planet cannot afford to go around the world and actually see what the hell's going on. For having the internet is a huge plus because you can see in real time a bunch of shit going on. So I get your point, but that's a huge plus. Going back to the box, we'll keep it moving with King Finn, friend of the program. Good evening, King Finn, asking that question. So what concerns you most? What concerns you most if the opposition is elected?
Well, you know what I'm about to say, Tim. What concerns me, Project 25, having a treasonous snake as a president, a treasonous game show host snake as a president who literally lies through his teeth about everything. I mean, you just yourself just said about the whole, if my daughter, if she wasn't my daughter, I'd date her. That makes me throw up in my damn mouth. I have a daughter, and that's completely fucking disgusting. Anybody following that should be ashamed of themselves. Are you serious?
I'm not getting any MAGA on the program.
That type of shit?
No, I don't. I'm just saying I don't get any.
Me right now?
Say that again.
Anybody that is okay with that. Anybody that is okay and say, I can excuse those words. Anybody that says that can look at his track record and see the fact that he was employing undocumented workers that he knew were undocumented, according to Fox and CNN, he knew they were. They had a town hall where they talked to 27 Mexican people who were undocumented. He knew this. He knew them by name at his golf course in Florida. Come on, man. Let's stop playing. Anybody that wants to say that that's okay for him to be the president, a 34-time convicted felon to be a president, when most felons coming out of jail don't have the right to vote at all. Anybody that can see that and say that that's okay?
But how do you respond to folks that say what Trump is going through is just a political stunt because these are misdemeanors and now they're suddenly felonies 34 times over. You don't think they were trying to...
Tim,
go ahead.
Tim, you know damn well if I go take $500 out the bank and bounce a check for $500, that's a misdemeanor, right? I might not get in trouble, but I'm gonna have to pay that $500 back, right? But if I go bounce a check for $2 billion, don't you think they're going to take me to jail?
Yeah, but what is that? Trump
my ass is going to jail.
Yeah, but Trump didn't do that. What are you talking about?
No, he inflated the amount of his property to
Yeah, but we're not talking about... You're talking about... Yeah, but you're talking about Letitia James case. That's not even a criminal case. That's a civil case. I'm talking about the one that got the felonies, Alvin Bragg. Many, even folks on the left, like Andrew Cuomo, former governor of New York, they're saying that case was bullshit.
No, it's not. I don't think so. I don't personally think, listen, this is what I am. I don't personally think that it's okay for a person who wants to be the president to do the things that Trump does. Even having those cases filed on record should be disqualifying.
Wow.
You see what I'm saying? It doesn't matter if they were misdemeanors or felonies. If this shit had happened with Obama would have never been considered for presidency. Period, point blank. It wouldn't matter if he had stole a damn candy bar. They would have said, just like you said earlier, they would have strung him up in a tan suit on the damn White House. On the White House lawn.
But Trump is entitled to a fair day in court, is he not?
Hey, is he not getting a fair day in court? He was judged by 12 of his peers. They said he was guilty. Is that not fair? Because that's the same thing I got to look at if I do a crime and go in front of 12 of my peers.
Well, but many
people that's going to decide whether I'm guilty or innocent.
Yeah, but many would suggest they wouldn't let his experts speak, and they were, the judge had it in for him.
Yep, and he didn't know E. Jean Carroll or Stormy Daniels either.
He did say that. He did.
Come on, man.
He also said he didn't know what is her name, Carrie McDougal either.
Do it matter what he said? Because we all know his damn lies.
So
every time you ask a Trump supporter, what about this or what about that, they instantly say, "Oh, I didn't know about that. Oh, I need to do my research. I didn't know," and it becomes a and stutter happens.
But what about
we're supposed to be okay with that?
But what about the things that they favor Trump for, the economy? I mean, are you happy with Biden's economy?
Yes, I am.
Really?
Biden has brought way more jobs, even though I don't appreciate him doing the drilling because I think that's a part of climate control, part of our climate control problem. I'm okay with him doing that because he did way more than Trump has. He's done way more than Trump has. Just like Trump said, "Oh, I've done more for black people than Abraham Lincoln." Where? Yeah. What did he do?
Well, I don't know where that came from. Yeah, I don't know what made Trump say.
It came out of his mouth.
Yeah, I don't know
where it came from.
Yeah, no, what I'm saying is I don't know what would make him say with confidence that he's done more for blacks than Abraham Lincoln. I just have no excuse for that.
It's bullshit, just like the rest of him. It's bullshit. It's all bullshit. Just like, "Oh, well, I got more black people jobs." No, you didn't. Nope.
There's
you
a lot of
nothing, so you ain't did nothing no more than anybody than Biden has. It's all a political ploy to start all of the whitewashing because the whole idea that Trump is even running for presidency is because they are mad because Obama was an awesome damn president. Period, point blank.
But there's a lot of, Trump got 74 million votes. If he was as bad as you're saying, how do you explain that?
I explain that by saying simply this: 74 million people got mad because, again, Obama was an awesome president. That is the only reason you have to vote for Trump, because Obama was an awesome president, and you are mad because he's black.
Ooh, you don't think Trump is? You think Trump is like that?
No. Hell yeah, I think Trump. Anytime you can say, "Oh yeah, I'm down." Anytime your past has anything to do with David Duke, are you what?
Trump's
CP5.
Wait a minute, Trump's past doesn't have anything to do with David Duke. David Duke endorsed Trump.
Didn't he have? Didn't David Duke endorse him? And didn't Trump's dad? Were David Duke and Trump's dad real best buds?
Yeah, but you're going to go all the way back to Trump's dad. Trump ain't got nothing to do with that.
Man, I'm going all the way back to the beginning of the Trump damn line. I go back all the way back to his damn ancestors, because that's how I feel he's doing us. He's going all the way back to the ancestors, like you just said, the colonizers, because he's doing the exact same damn thing. He's trying to colonize America again. Making America great again.
I don't know, King. I got folks online that suggest that you have Trump derangement syndrome, that you just don't like the man.
They suggest. Yep, maybe I don't. But I damn sure don't like anything he's doing. I'll tell you that. Do I like him as a person? No, I don't. I think he's a sick person who needs to be in a fucking mental hospital.
Wow.
That's what I believe.
Damn. You didn't like the jobs numbers in the African American community. Nope. I mean, you didn't think he was
job number.
Yeah, 3.5%.
You know what? You know what I like? I loved how he told people they should inject light in Lysol when COVID happened. He lied about that. I love that. That was awesome.
All right.
I mean, every last one of us, every last American has lost somebody or seen somebody or knew somebody who died from COVID. Damn near. How many lives did we lose in COVID? How many years were we shut down? Oh, I loved not being able to work and having to make sure that my kids were on online school for a year. I love seeing the job numbers dwindle there. I love that. Yeah, that was awesome. That was such a great job.
Now you mentioned the large amount of Americans that were lost to the pandemic. Do you believe Trump himself has human deaths on his hands?
Yes. He stood there and lied about it for the first 6 months. Then he stood up there with Dr. Fauci, a very well-known and world-renowned doctor who was already over all of the immunizations and the AIDS virus, who knew what he was talking about and basically shitted all over his ideas. Obama left the playbook for noroviruses, for Trump. What did he do? He burned it. Damn. Are you kidding me?
I have heard that.
Do I like Trump? No. I don't like Trump. Trump is what's wrong with this country. People who agree with Trump is what's wrong with this country. That's why it's so divisive. And that's why, understandably, that I love the fact that I have free speech. But that is why we have people walking around and opening their mouths against our politicians. Even me. because he has made a divisive situation where everybody's at each other's throats instead of trying to come together.
I get callers that tell me all the time, opposing what you're saying, King. I get callers all the time that say the divisiveness started with Obama.
Shit. Okay, weird. What did he do that was so divisive?
I'm just telling you what I hear.
I'm asking a general question. What did he do that was so divisive? Because I didn't see anything he did that was divisive other than wearing a tan suit.
Well, the taking the sides of Black Lives Matter, things like that is where they're going to go with.
Okay. It was wrong. It was wrong for people to kill other people just because they're black. We've been going through that since the beginning of fucking time, since the beginning of America. The slaves, civil rights movement. It's wrong. It's wrong to do that. Is it not a morality? Is this not supposed to be the land of the free, the home of the brave, where morality is supposed to matter? So it's okay to kill black people, but it's not okay to say that shit was wrong. It's wrong. I'm sorry. I'm black. I don't think it's okay to kill black people. I'm black. I don't want to die because you don't like the color of my skin. I'm sorry. Doesn't my vote matter? Doesn't my life matter? So yeah, that shit was wrong. And Obama he said exactly right. Trayvon could have been my son. Because I felt like Trayvon could have been my 12-year-old son. So yes, I'm okay with that. You're damn right I am. Because I don't want nobody trying to kill my damn son. And if you were smart, you wouldn't want nobody trying to kill yours neither. Especially if something as stupid as not liking the color of their damn skin without knowing them, without talking to them, without having a conversation with my son. No, I don't think it's okay to try to kill him. No, I'm sorry. Again,
but speaking of color of skin, though, Trump said that currently there is an anti-white sentiment in America, and that white people are being biased against.
That's hilarious because white people run the country. The colonizers were the original people that came over here. Christopher Columbus, what color was he? He was white. He came over here and killed thousands of Native Americans. And then said, "Oh, we discovered America." No, you made a wrong turn, and you made a wrong turn in the Gulf of Mexico. Came up on a country, killed a whole bunch of natives, and then called it America.
All right, King Finn, passionate review as always. Come on back anytime, and I do appreciate it.
You know I will.
Shit. All right, King Finn, drive a hard bargain. Moving the program on. There we go. I'm trying to get it straight. There we go. And our community will not sit quietly. Many are here for it. It says no live here. Wow. Okay, fair enough. That's generalizing though. Generalizing how? Be specific. I like him, says no live here. Can't pronounce that name though. He needs to ride. Jerry Vickner, ride how? Looking in the comments, Trump lies. Stop believing Trump. No, I think most politicians lie, and Trump is a politician, despite those suggesting that, 4 years after completing the whole term, that he's not a politician. At this point, he is a politician. Amen. Trump is the main problem. He doesn't. Obama wasn't divisive. The racists divided from his ideas because they are the problem. All right. Freedom for MAGA means only they're wow, a lot of liberals on the YouTube side. Wow, surprised. I normally have my MAGA on the YouTube side, and TikTok has more left link, but I got a lot of liberals on both sides today. By the way, tap the screen. I do appreciate the 86,000. We can get to 100,000. You guys tap the screen, let your thumbs not be lit. I haven't had one MAGA call it. Well, I have had a couple, but been a minute. Going back to the box. We'll go, I don't know what I'm looking at here, but we'll go to Carlos Quintiana. Is that what I'm looking at? Good evening, Carlos. Welcome to the program. Tim, you had apple pie. He was the worst.
Since we talked. And I've listened to you for, I don't know, a couple of years, I'm thinking, on this TikTok. And I've come to the conclusion, that you're a very intelligent man. And wow. For the life of, I'm 68 years old, and for the life of me, I find it hard to believe that you really believe what you believe as far as when it comes to Trump. I'm thinking, I've listened to you, and I'm thinking, well-versed, well-read, and I'm thinking, how, is he making money doing this? And I'm thinking, no, he ain't making no real money. But there again, like I said, I just don't get it, man, because as I said again, you've proven to me that you're an intelligent, well-versed, well-read man.
Thank you.
And for you to have these opinions and defend Trump boggles my mind.
Let's go into it. And first of all, you're correct. I'm not getting paid shit. I don't think I've seen hardly even any hearts on the program tonight. The support is virtually zero. So what makes you think, or better yet, give me something I've said that you wonder, how the hell could you believe that?
Anything that comes out of Trump's mouth, you know, a lot of people generalize. They'll say, some people say, or this, that, or the other. Trump, I watched his speech. Where was he at? In Pennsylvania yesterday, running his mouth. I'm thinking, you know, how could anybody sit there, those people that were out there, with half a brain, listen to that bullshit that this guy spews out his mouth? You know, I think he's just trying to keep his ass out of jail, trying to generate enough money to pay his attorney fees, and he may win. I don't know.
There's a real good chance. There's a real good chance he could win the poll, according to the polls. But I want to read something, because you mentioned, you know, me potentially being intelligent. Thank you for that, and wondering why I think the way I do. I saw a comment. I want to give this one to you. You can take it any way you want. I don't block, ban, or censor. Save man, woman, peace. Says Tim, referring to yours truly, Tim, you racist motherfucker, must be voting for Trump. Do I come across as a racist motherfucker that's voting for Trump?
Well, there's your good example. Whoever he was is stupid. You know, because no, you do not come across as a typical
MAGA.
Well, what we would define as a racist, okay? No. And so, you know, like I said, I enjoy listening to you. I enjoy how you handle the left when they're talking. The lady, was that a lady or a man that was talking to you a little while ago in the box?
I believe I've had both sexes, but I mean, I don't just handle liberal. I mean, I go deep on.
You know, she went on and I pretty much agreed with everything that she said.
But you said you're wondering, do I think the way I'm talking? I want to know, tell me something I may have said that you're like, there's no way he believes that.
Your manner, the way you respond to a lot of things that people say, you could be typical and be defensive, like most people are on both sides when they're defending their beliefs. Like I said, you know, you blow my mind because you just don't make no sense, in the sense of, you know, this don't make no sense.
I wish you could give me something specific so I could.
I'll use a stupid analogy. You got a guy who says he hates people, yet he goes out and all he ever does is help people, whether it's working food lines or helping the homeless or whatever. But yet, out of his mouth, he's saying how much he hates people. And then to try to use you in that analogy, you know, I see the mega hat, the red hat, and you represent Trump. You believe in Trump. I don't believe you believe everything that Trump says.
Let me. I don't. You said you've been watching me for a number of years. I've explained that the MAGA hat numerous times. The reason I have the MAGA hat up now, I tend to lean left. I mean, close to the center, but I lean left on social issues. The reason I had the hat up, because I strongly believe conservatives, Republicans, and particularly MAGA, do not get a fair shake in the media. The minute they start talking, people ban, block, censor them, no matter where they go. So what I want folks to know on my program, it is MAGA friendly. Doesn't give a damn if you have an opposing opinion from yours truly or anybody else. You will be allowed to speak. The purpose of the hat is to let them know they're welcome here. That's the only purpose of it.
I'm going to tell you what, buddy. I am a conservative. Okay?
Okay.
What I believe would be a conservative, which you could compare to a Christian, even though I'm not a Christian and I don't believe in Christianity. But my values are you could compare to Christian values, help people.
What about saving the life? If you're Christian, what about saving the life of the unborn? Sound like you should be supporting Trump.
No. Oh, I didn't say I was Christian. I said my values.
You said you're conservative.
I am. Yeah, I got a guy that comes over twice a week who's staunch Republican, full of hate. Comes over to my house twice a week and takes a shower, homeless guy. Takes a shower, and then I feed him, and then he heads on out. And, but I'm not, lack of a better word, Christian enough to say, hey, man, go ahead and spend the night. I ain't doing that. I'm a single man. I've been a single man for a long time because I don't like nobody around. I'm helping this guy because we just happened to cross paths a few years ago, okay? And he has some mental illness. He's the only homeless guy I know that isn't a drug addict or an alcoholic.
But he's a racist. He's not a drug addict.
Oh, yeah.
He's a racist. Yeah. That's worse.
Yeah. And he's a staunch Trump, and he hates Biden. He doesn't understand how I could be a Democrat, being a veteran that I am. I've got an American flag up in front of my house. You know why I got my American flag in front of my house? You don't understand this. I gotta have an American flag. I gotta be more patriotic. I'm Mexican. I live in a housing addition of 55 houses. They're about 60 years old. It's predominantly a white Republican. I know that because I used to work for the Democratic Party here in this precinct, and I was the ward chair, so I know all the politics pretty much of these 55 houses, which is predominantly white Republicans. Now, I have to be more patriotic. These people, I've been here 35 years in this house. I've had the Board of Health call on me because I had too many vehicles in front of my house. I'm never invited to any of the cooking.
But let me ask you this, because this came in on YouTube in reference to what you're saying. This came from Anti-Feminist 87. Says every liberal's excuse. I know a Republican who is a racist. Every liberal often says I know a Republican who is a racist. Anyone can be evil. It doesn't matter what your politics are.
I know Democrats who are racist. A lot of the just before Obama, the person that I took his place as the ward chair here, he became a Republican. There was somewhere along the line, they all, during the middle of George Bush's second term or whatever, this is before Obama. No, I think Obama was running. But anyways, they changed up to Republicans when Obama ran. And, give me an example, for instance, my politics, I was born and raised Catholic Democrat, but you use George Bush. George Bush has done more to destroy this country and killed all these people for the sake of Halliburton and making money, and started a war that we shouldn't have never been in, and I hate it when he's involved in all these veteran things, and I'm not riding his bicycle out there.
So why not support Trump? He's the one talking about getting us out of wars.
I'm not supporting Trump for what comes out of his mouth.
I get it.
Coming down the escalator, talking about Mexicans, rapists, and all that. In other words, he don't believe that. He just trying to generate so much hate to get. He said this out of his own mouth. He said if he ever ran for president, he'd run as a Republican because they're so stupid they'll believe anything. Right? Did he not say that?
He did say they're not sending us their best and brightest. All right, I got to move it on, Carlos. Being Mexican, your stance totally makes sense. I mean, I can totally understand considering that you're Mexican. So fair enough. Come on back in. This is our first time talking?
No, we talked before.
All right, good. Don't be a stranger, man.
Much love, brother. I appreciate you.
My sentiments exactly. Thank you for your service, by the way. Going on with the program, oh Lord, caller, don't listen to anything other than CNN. Why is it that everybody that disagrees with Trump has to be listening to CNN or MSNBC? You can watch Fox News and not agree with Trump. I've been watching Fox News myself, I don't know, 20 years. I started watching them right around the time, was it Saddam Hussein got captured? A little bit before that. I mean, I go back, back, because Fox started in 96. I mean, I started watching them with Shep Smith, when Sean Hannity was Wood Allen Combs. I mean, I go way back with Fox News. And, I mean, I enjoyed the way they told the news, even though I knew they were a conservative network, despite their fair and balanced moniker. They're not fair and balanced now. They are a right-wing network. But I mean, you can disagree with a candidate regardless of what media you're watching. Tim Guest is high on cheap weed and flat beer, says Zion. Be nice to the guest. Suggesting my last guest was high on beer. Cheap weed and beer and cheap weed and beer, or cheap beer and weed. I just remember that. We've given more to Israel than anyone. True, save man, woman, peace. By the way, Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel has been on television the last week or so saying that Biden is withholding weapons from him. Old Genocide Joe is no longer backing Israel, apparently, but Netanyahu's been on television saying that Biden is not helping him out. So, but in regards to us giving more to Israel than anybody else, we also get more from Israel than anybody else. The rest of the other countries of NATO, they don't interfere with shit in the Middle East and things like that like we do. We essentially use Israel as a gateway to the Middle East, kind of like them magical portals you see in a sci-fi. We use Israel as a gateway to the Middle East. Other NATO countries ain't doing that kind of stuff. That's why they don't have to give Israel as much, because they're not trying to use them like that. Jesus was black, and when he came back, he was pale glowing. Totally irrelevant, but okay. Anyone who don't like the red hat, just get off this live. You can like folks, like I said, you can state your opinion here without any concern of being blocked, banned, or censored. We don't do that here. By the way, we're getting close to 100,000 likes on TikTok. I'd ask you folks, if you will, show your boy a little bit of love and take the program up to over 100,000 simply by smashing the screen, tapping the screen. Same on YouTube. Go ahead and get the likes up to over 100. We're just about there. I appreciate you folks that are tuning in this Sunday evening. You could be anywhere you want. I'm glad to have you here with yours truly. If the Republicans were so against abortion, if the Republicans were so against abortion, what if they were against guns? I don't think any Republican that's against guns would get support from Republican voters. I assume that's what you're saying. I'm taking a dump right now. I don't have anywhere else to go, says Landon. Appreciate you letting us know. Hopefully the turds are short and easy to wipe off. Going back to the box. Twin Mom, thank you for holding. Welcome to the program, Twin Mom. Big Sean, thanks for the TikTok cap. Good evening, Twin Mom. Twin Mom, are you there?
Hello, can you hear me?
Loud and clear, ma'am. Asking that question, if your candidate of choice is not reelected, what are you concerned with most if the other guy wins?
I would say, I have millennials and Zs and all like that in my family. Mm-hmm. I'm more concerned. If you see my post, I'm more concerned about women's rights and how women's rights are being taken from us. And not for myself, because I had rights. I'm more concerned with my children and my nieces and those folks having their rights, having the rights that I had, at least.
Well, how do you respond to folks who suggest that nobody's taking away women's rights, they're just giving the power back to the states?
Well, it's just like you said earlier, when you give it back to the states, that's when it gets That's when they take the rights away.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one step toward taking the rights away.
Yeah. And I did say that. I did say that with another caller that was in favor of states' rights. As an African American, I look back in history, I don't see any good from states' rights. No. States' rights is generally, I don't want to serve a cake to an LGBT person, or I don't want to teach this in schools. Usually, folks fighting for states' rights is usually not fighting for freedom, but fighting to limit the freedoms of somebody else.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have, my in-laws are from Alabama, so I've heard all kinds of stories.
Wow.
So I certainly know that when you give it back to the states, that means they're going to take your rights away.
Yeah.
And I tell you, the young people today better be concerned with that. They better not be, you know, I don't like what's happening in Gaza and all like that either, but if you don't take care of your own home first, you won't have a home.
So how do you respond to somebody like Tech Support says, when you're talking about taking away women's rights, he states, then move to a liberal state if your rights are being taken away?
It doesn't matter, right? Because once they get it at the state level, and then you get a president that can implement it at the federal level. And then all of the states going to have to abide by it. I'm in a liberal state, by the way. So no, it doesn't apply to me. But for me as an American citizen, I care about all citizens, even my in-laws in Alabama. I care about them. So it's not about me being in a liberal state. I am in one.
So you believe that if Trump gets back in office, he would try to take abortion rights away even in liberal areas?
Of course. He's trying to do it at the federal level. I'm an ex-federal employee. I know all about the government, and I know all about how it works. Okay, so when you start getting laws at the state level, and then you put in a president like Trump, who's, again, when we talked before, I told you I didn't think Trump was all that, bad of a person. But I also think he doesn't read. I think he does what people tell him to do.
Well, you think Biden ain't doing the same?
Let me tell you something. I used to always say, when I was a manager, I said, make it government-like. With Trump, they got to make it government-like. They got to bullet it and everything because he is not going to read it. Okay? And so, if he's not going to read it and he's fed up saying 900, in the government, we got every document is 6,000 to 9,000 pages. If he's not a reader, you can bet your bottom dollar that he got somebody else reading it and they're going to implement it and he's just going to sign on the dotted line.
Wow. So you're saying that Trump is a puppet?
Hey, if you don't like to read, that's what you do. He ain't the only one in the government like that. Yeah. Trust me.
I don't disagree with that. I do believe some of these bills, that's what they call pork. You can sneak something in the bill.
They just signed it. They don't know what they're signing. And then when you confront them with it, it's like, I didn't do that. Well, you did. You just didn't read it.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I mean, I don't necessarily think he's doing stuff on purpose, but, in order to be a leader of this country, you have to lead. You have to lead. You have to be able, I think it was one of your callers had a great, again, I said, I'm an ex-government employee, so when he said you got to break things down, you got to read things, you have to read, else you're going to put yourself in trouble. And when he puts himself in trouble by not reading and just signing things, he puts us all in trouble.
But we had 4 years of Trump, and many say the country was being ran quite well.
The first time, he was so focused on getting those tax cuts. And by the way, I work for those people, so I know exactly what the cuts were. I worked for those people. And so he was so focused on that, he couldn't do anything else. He had people in his ear wanting those tax cuts left and right.
Wow.
And matter of fact, when you start talking about the HBCUs and the money and all like that, and Trump, that's one thing I've heard people say. Yeah, he did give money to the HBCUs, but it had expired. And in order for us to get that money out of him, those Democrats had to agree to the tax cuts.
Yeah. Well, but Trump is also, you talking about HBCUs, Trump is stating that he'd done more for blacks than anybody since Abraham Lincoln. So he goes way beyond HBCUs, apparently.
I don't know anything. I'm not from New York. I don't know anything about him and what he did for black people.
No, he mean as president.
Well, no. I mean, I can't think of anything. I mean, besides being president of the United States, I can't think of anything. And when I think of Trump, I just think of the tax cuts to the rich. I can't really think of anything else. I mean, yeah, I know people say everything was lower back then, but we were in a pandemic. Yeah. You know, people wasn't driving anywhere. Everybody was working from home. And now everybody's all upset because now they got to go back to work. That's the problem.
Yeah, I do think there is some upset folks about that.
Yeah, they worked at home for 2 years. They don't want to go back. My folks used to say, you know, can I work from home? I said, yeah, go and work from home. You was doing it for 2 years. Go ahead. But see, some companies are making them come back to work. They just mad about all that, all the gravy they had under COVID. Yeah. You know, COVID was a sad situation. I had family members who died from COVID. I hated how it was handled.
Let me ask you, so I asked the caller previously, do you blame any of those deaths on Trump himself?
No, I don't. Okay. I do not. I blame that we didn't have things in place, because one thing I know for sure, being a government person, we always got a plan. Always. They always got a plan, whether you use it or not. And I feel like his hatred, and when I say hatred, I mean hatred for Obama. He cannot see past the hatred for Obama. So anything if Obama did, he's just going to tear it up, blow it up, or whatever. And that's a problem. That's a problem. If you're going to lead this country, you cannot put your personal feelings in there like that.
Well, but think about it, though. If you're saying that Obama left him a pandemic plan or whatever to do in case this happened, that could have saved lives, and his hatred for Obama led to him not using it, then he kind of would be responsible if what you're saying is true.
Yeah, but when I say, you know, somebody's not responsible for somebody dying, I mean, that person probably had some health conditions and everything too, which made it worse. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, I don't ever want to put that on somebody to say that was their fault. Yeah, the handling of it was his fault, definitely. But yeah, I had a family member, a close family member, that passed away. He had an illness, didn't even know he had it. And when COVID came and they didn't have things in place, everything was disarray. People were dying. And you couldn't even go to the hospital to see them. Remember, people were dying and they were on their phone and you could see them dying. I mean, that stuff was just cruel. People in nursing homes and all like that. You know, I can't put that on one person, you know, but, you know, that's why you have to be a great leader. You have to run this country.
Do you think Biden is a great leader?
I think that Biden is a very smart man, right? He's been in government many years. He knows a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there's no denying he's been around for a while.
We could use somebody younger. Absolutely. We could use somebody younger. But I'd rather have somebody more experienced like that than somebody who just not going to read the document. Because I can't read it because it's 900 pages. I see that's the part that scares me. When you just can't even take the time to read something important, maybe something about the nuclear or whatever, and you can't take the time to even read your briefings in the morning. I have a problem with that person.
I understand. And I certainly heard those rumors about Trump, but I got to move it on, twin. By the way, thank you for holding. I saw you in there. I do appreciate that. Good talking to you again.
It's nice talking to you.
Absolutely. So looking in the comments, and I see somebody stated, Jim on YouTube said, LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson, said he would have the ends, the Negroes, you know what we're talking about, he would have the Negroes voting Democrat for the next 200 years. I've heard that. I personally believe that, and I think it's accurate. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like saying if I rescue your ass from drowning in a pool, you're about to die. If I rescue, I'm going to have you owe me favors for the next 100 years, whatever. I mean, of course, you're giving them civil rights. It's not like the Republicans couldn't have done it before. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, as I say all the time, I don't care if you mean it from a morality play out of the goodness of your heart or you have actual evil intentions. If you save my life, you save my life, you deserve the credit for it. Just like many would say Abraham Lincoln really was not trying to help our black folks. I believe there's a quote where Abraham Lincoln stated, if I could end a civil war without freeing a single black person, I would do it. If I could end the Civil War by freeing every black person, I would do it. Meaning his only goal was to end the Civil War. He didn't really give a damn about blacks. Fine. But he ended up freeing black people. So he gets credit for it. I don't care what the actual intention was behind it. At the end of the day, they're not going to be free without him. Same thing about LBJ allegedly saying I'll have N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years. Well, if the other side doesn't want us to get civil rights at all, yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. No shit, of course it's going to happen. And as a result, you got this guy giving the African-American community civil rights, and the other side is talking about how great the Confederate flag is. It represents pride and heritage. Yeah, of course you're going to lead a lot of black people to vote Democrat. The Confederate flag was not friendly to African Americans. We talk about pride and heritage all you want. If that's what you use to honor your pride and heritage, fine. But there's no denying that the Confederates did not have the best interests of African Americans at heart. Period. There's no denying that. Even after the Civil War, they continued treating them like shit. So, yeah, you expect African Americans to see that as a symbol of friendship? I don't understand that. And by the way, if you're going to bring up your ancestors from that period of time, guess what the African Americans are going to do? They're going to end up bringing up their ancestors. Look at in the comments, though. The Confederate flag was the Northern Virginia battle flag. Yeah, we can go into semantics about what type. We're talking about the stars and bars. Call it whatever you want. It's the flag that people are flying, saying it's representative of pride and heritage. It's also the flag that many hate groups fly as well. I think the Klan has it on their outfit or something like that. And it's also led me to ask this question. Colin Kaepernick takes a knee is disrespectful to the flag. Some liberal sets the flag on fire. Veterans, I don't care if a veteran is 90 years of age, he'll get up out of a wheelchair and try to kick your ass for disrespecting the American flag. However, when it comes to the Confederate flag, you hear folks talking about taking down statues, shame on you, you're trying to destroy and rewrite history, or you're trying to ban people from wanting to honor their pride and heritage. But yet, if you put a Confederate flag on, let's say, a Klan robe, have a protest town hall in the middle of the, town square, and you're preaching nothing but hatred, with the flag on you, nobody shows up and protests you. This is your pride and heritage being desecrated by people preaching nothing but hate. You show up to talk about taking down a statue. There are plenty of Confederates will show up and protest. You're trying to take down the statue or whatever. But if you have the Klan or some hate group preaching hatred, none of these people show up to complain about, why are you doing this to our flag? This represents my pride and heritage. Why are you desecrating it with hatred? Nobody shows up. So I just want to point that out. That is probably why some folks view the flag differently, is because it's clear supporters of the Confederate flag are capable of protesting. Anytime you talk about taking down a statue or banning the flag, they show up. But all of a sudden, when a hate group uses it and preaches hate, they don't show up. They don't seem to have a problem with it. You guys can let me know why. I don't know, though. Since when do we honor the flag of the loser? I can't speak with that. I can't speak with that. I don't know, because the Confederate flag, to some degree, would be considered, certainly the statues would be considered as like participation trophies. You're correct. They didn't win. They're getting honored. They didn't win. What's really unique about the Confederate statues is I've never seen a adversary start a war, lose, and then get to honor their generals on the soil of the victor. That would be like the Japanese bombing Pearl Harbor. We defeated the Japanese, but then they have statues of Hirohito and other Japanese generals and things like that all over Hawaii. That normally doesn't happen. I don't know how the Confederates got to honor their people on, I mean, you lost. You're getting to honor your generals and leaders on the soil of the country that won. I've never seen that before. Look at it in the comments, though. The hate groups have no power and get more press than necessary. I would say the same happened with Colin Kaepernick. He didn't have any real power. He got a hell of a lot of press. I get your point, but I mean, people protest what they don't like. And oddly enough, the supporters of the Confederate flag don't have a lot of problems when hate groups use that flag while preaching hate. They don't seem to care. You can go back actually over 100 years ago and see images back when in the early days of photography. They were using that flag on Klan outfits and hate outfits as far back as the invention of video, really. I mean, it's always been used in conjunction with those groups. And there has not been a lot of protests from those groups stating you are desecrating the flag that represents my pride and heritage. They don't seem to care about it. The United States military has banned Confederate flags from all bases. Yeah, that is something of fairly recent. But Biden puts migrants over American citizens. How can you vote for him? You hate your country. How does Biden put migrants over American citizens? In what way? They can't even vote. In what way? I'm not a fan of just letting anybody in the damn country. I get it, but how is Biden putting immigrants over American citizens? In what way? State your case. If you make a point, I'll concede it, but I don't know how he's putting immigrants over American citizens. The Confederate soldiers were our American brothers. The Democrats were pro-KKK during the 1940s through that is all true. But if an American, and this actually happened, if an American goes to the Middle East and fights on behalf of ISIS, would you give him a statue in America? Isn't he a traitor to the country? You can have a brother that's a traitor. I mean, the Confederates tried to assassinate the president of the United States. That's an actual fact. I believe they burned the White House or something like that. I mean, that actually happened. Should you get honored when you do that? We have had Americans in every single conflict and war fight for the other side. There were Americans that fought on behalf of Adolf Hitler. Should they be honored? I mean, the Confederates were fighting to break the country in half. We would be a significantly weaker country had they won. Because it would be two. It would be two countries. I mean, they were fighting to break the country in half. Should they be honored? I'm just asking that question. KKK was a Democrat situation. We can talk about the KKK being Democrat and slavery being a party of Democrats. I'm not disagreeing with any of that. That is absolutely a fact. However, understand, the Democrats being the party of slavery and all of this stuff. Think about the slave states. Think about the Democrats being the party of slavery. All of the former slave states now do not vote Democrat. They vote Republican. What do you think happened? What would cause that? All of the former slave states, they vote Republican. And they've been that way for a long time. The Democrats, being the party of slavery and the KKK, were the ones wearing the Confederate symbol. Who supports and endorses the Confederate symbol now? Obviously, something took place. The Democrats don't affiliate with that stuff at all anymore. The Republicans speak very favorably of all of that stuff. You talk about Democrats being the party of slavery. Well, who speaks favorably of making sure the folks fighting to keep slavery legal is constantly represented and honored everywhere? I think Mississippi even had like Confederate month or something like that. So clearly something changed. because the Democratic Party is not a fan of any of that stuff anymore, and the Republican Party is defending it. The symbols, the statues, all of it. The Republican Party defends all of that stuff. Very favorable to it. Black people never owned slaves, says T Advice. I believe 1 or 2 people did. But it's just like the whole thing about zooming out when you don't. At the end of the day, when you talk about who owned slaves in America, I'm assuming it's probably over 99% of slave owners in this country were white. I mean, you know, there was a black guy over here. Okay, I do believe there are some black slave owners in our history, but 99% of them were not black. It is what it is. And I see in the comments, Jack of all trades says that's bullshit. Here's one thing I would tell you, because anytime you bring up slavery, what about the Irish slaves, or you bring up black slave owners and things like that, the history books in this country, up to at least 1970, none of those history books were written or produced by black people. If what you're saying is true about all these black slave owners and the Irish slaves had it equally as bad, why wasn't it in the history books? Why would traditional white America deliberately lie about history? Because the black people weren't writing the books. For at least the first 200 years, none of the history was being taught by African Americans. They didn't have the power. They didn't have the access. The government, even to this day, tells you what you can and cannot teach children in schools. Why didn't they teach about the Irish slaves? Why is it just coming out now in the 2000s? That should tell you a lot. I see a hell of a lot of Irish in March getting sloppy drunk in honor of St. Patrick's Day. Yet they say virtually nothing about Irish slavery. Just decided to conveniently stop talking about their entire heritage. Who does that? Who would do that? If they had that many slaves in their history, you'd hear them talking about it. They'd honor it. They just decided to not even cover their own ancestry, their own history. But they'll drink beers to St. Patrick's Day? Huh. All right, Biden is an American hero. He saved America in 2020. What did he save it from? It was the history books. It was in the history books until 30 years ago. No, I was in school 30 years ago, damn it. It was not in the history books 30 years ago. No, the Irish slaves is not taught in 30 years ago, they just took it out the history books, huh? It was not in the history books. I always say this, name a well-known Irish slave. What day were they emancipated? I mean, you should have this information. If they were so deeply oppressed, what day were they emancipated? None of these answers come out. It's just like it's history that just disappeared from the books. That's suspicious in my opinion. That is incorrect. Blacks own slaves, Native Americans own slaves, whites own slaves, and some women own slaves. William Lynn, I don't disagree with you. In this country, there were some other non-whites that owned slaves, but I mean, I would tell you it's over 99-1. It's over 99% of slave owners in this country were white. It's just a fact. Over 99% of slave owners in this country were white. But if it makes us feel better to say, well, they weren't 100% of the slave owners, fine. But over the course of history, some 400 years or whatever the hell it was that we practiced slavery in this country, or we actually had slavery in this country, there were not very many black slave owners. It just, otherwise it would have been in the history books. As we keep saying, well, why ain't none of this in the history books? You know, if you own a slave, it requires a substantial amount of wealth. I believe only 1% of whites own slaves. A black man reaching that level of wealth, multiple black men reaching that level of wealth, who are they? What are their names? I mean, you don't just say blacks own slaves, give us their names. I believe there was 1 or 2 that did. But in America, over 99% of slave owners throughout history were white. Looking in the comments, if the freed slaves didn't stay here, a lot of people would not be here now. Maybe thank them for what they went through for your free life today. Well, Florida Blondie, in regards to if the free slaves did not stay here, why the hell would they go after 400 years of slavery? Why the hell would you go back to Africa? You don't even speak the damn language. Of course they're going to stay here. That's all they know. By the time slavery ended in the 1800s, you got like 4 or 5 generations of your ancestors in America speaking English. It's not like their captives even told them where they came from. I don't even know my damn self what country my ancestors came from. So if I wanted to go back to Africa, I wouldn't even know where to fucking go. So what are you talking about? Lucky they stayed here. They didn't have a choice. By the way, once slavery ended, it's not like they gave them a bunch of severance pay. So even if they did want to go back to Africa, as you guys always say, who's going to pay for it? Go ahead. I mean, but that's humorous though. You don't know where you came from. You don't speak the language, and you have no money. But you should go back to Africa. Wow. Look at in the comments. No, there's no way to do that. No way possible to do that. The buyers of slaves didn't know which tribe black slaves. Exactly. You don't know. Essentially, the slave trade was like the buying of selling of puppies. You know, you purchase some pup. You know, you mix and match. A lot of people don't even keep records on them. I mean, you just breed them and then you just make more of them. At the end of the day, you don't know who came from where or anything. That's what slavery was like. And because it has turned out to be a stain on the American, on American history, most of the families who made really good profits from slavery, they ripped up the records. You don't want the public to know that you guys have a farm in your family and wealth has been passed down from generation to generation in your family due to free labor and privilege. Most families don't want nobody to know that. So they tore up all of the records and history that had ever happened because most families don't want to be tied to that awful deed. So you expect the people to go back to somewhere they don't even know where they came from. Wow. Okay. A lot were Aboriginal. Yeah, a lot, but you just don't know. When they brought them here, everything about where they came from was erased. Your name, what religion you practiced, the language you used, every single thing about your identity and culture, you were told to get rid of that. That's why a lot of African Americans to this day, soul food, hog mugs, chitlins, pig's feet, the shit that was being thrown in the garbage, they learned how to season it, which is why you hear a lot of folks say African Americans really know how to season food. Well, you learn how to season when it's garbage. That's what is the actual culture of African American ancestors? They weren't eating that stuff in Africa. I don't know. Was it gold, curry? I don't know. But it wasn't the stuff we eat now. So every aspect of African American culture has really been kind of lost. You don't know. Every country in Africa has different cuisines and things like that they eat. And you don't know which one. You can't just go back to the whole continent and say, I'm home. It doesn't work like that. So when people go back to Africa, where? You can't just show up on the shores of South America or South Africa or Egypt. Just can't show up somewhere. Well, I'm back home now. It doesn't work like that. But that is funny, though. I don't expect them to go back. But why not be grateful of the life we have now for what our ancestors went through? I think you can be grateful and hold America accountable simultaneously. I don't think you should just pretend like it never happened, or as Morgan Freeman said, stop talking about it. Or I think you can do both. You can do both. I think a lot of African Americans are grateful for what we have in this country. But you're not grateful because that was the intention. The intention was not to bring people here from Africa to this great nation and with the goal of them prospering. The goal was to get you to work for free. People lost their lives to get where we are today. And it wasn't because the natives, talking about, well, better yet, the colonizers wanted us to. So, but I understand what you're saying, but I don't want to rewrite, or I don't want to say whitewash, but try to make history sound better than what it is. I mean, the reality is, even with as much history as we know, it is far, far darker. The reality of what happened in this country is far, far darker. There are mass graves probably all over the South. We talk about Hitler and all of that all the time. I would submit to you, there's nothing that Hitler did that the Confederates didn't do before him. Nothing. Other than maybe gassing folks, because that invention had not been around. But everything else that the Third Reich was using, all that stuff was being used in the South for a lot longer than Hitler used it. A lot longer. So, I mean, it is what it is. And I think we've tried to portray, we've kind of romanced the Confederates and what has happened. That stuff is pretty damn dark. I mean, like I said, there are mass graves all over the South. All over the South. Nevertheless, folks, I do appreciate the 111,000 likes. As always, 1 p.m. Central, Monday through Friday is when you'll find us here. Monday through Friday, weekdays. Nevertheless, it is indeed your boy Tim. I will see you tomorrow. Real quick on the comments on the YouTube side. How do you keep people who do not still live accountable? I don't know. I mean, nobody's getting reparations or anything. I don't think anybody's being kept accountable. I just say, I mean, you're just telling the story of what happened. Accountable would mean there's some kind of punishment, or, I mean, nobody's being kept accountable for it. The people who did what they did got away with it. It is what it is. It was hidden, they got away with it, and they died. Nobody was really held accountable for slavery. No one at all. Looking in the comments real quick. And this country just outlawed lynching. Yeah, that just happened recently. The South was no different than black African slave owners and traders in Africa. I don't disagree with that. But that doesn't, in other words, that makes the South look awful. When you got to compare yourself to somebody else who's doing awful things, that's not defending the South. They adopted the worst traits of humanity and pointed to somebody else on earth that did it too. I mean, that doesn't say anything. But I agree with your point. There's certainly been slavery in other countries, but that doesn't change what happened here. It's kind of like I mentioned earlier. If Black Lives Matter riots and loots sets a town on fire, we don't bring up somebody rioting in Tiananmen Square or in Yemen. We focus on Black Lives Matter. But for some reason, when we talk about this stuff, well, they're doing it in Africa too. I don't know how that comes in the conversation. But every country has a dark history. Yes, black slaves and white dirt poor of the South were treated in some places awful, but not all places. Jesse Patterson would disagree with you. Well, not disagreeing with that every country has a dark history. I think in America, the issue is we're one of the countries where the individuals who perpetrated the dark history also were given the ability to narrate and write history, which is why a lot more of it is not known. For instance, in Germany, the Third Reich did not get to write history. They lost the war. The Allies came in. The concentration camps and what was going on was exposed. And therefore, we know a lot about what was going on in Germany during that time. In the South, however, once the Civil War ended, we kind of left the South to their own devices to reconstruct the South and let them tell the tale of what has happened down there. And they weren't honest about it. I'll tell you right off the bat, if Hitler had won World War II, the Holocaust would have never happened. They would have been denying it just like in the South. Most of the stuff down there, you got to think. If you're talking about hundreds of years of slavery, for instance, we don't talk about rapes. They kept some people and made them work for free. A few people got whipped. It's way darker than that. I mean, how do you think they made more slaves? They would bring somebody in. You guys are going to pair up and make me some more of you. You don't get to say no, and neither does he. Either one of you disagree with the mating process, that's your ass. That's how most slaves were made. So you're talking about literally thousands and thousands of rapes. We don't talk about it from that aspect. Doesn't come up. We do talk about that when it comes to Hitler or Hamas and all of, but that's how we were making them here. Nobody had the right to refuse. Nobody. And if you ran off the plantation seeking freedom, you could be executed. I mean, none of that stuff. We don't cover all of that. But the history of it is probably equal to the Third Reich. But it's actually a lot longer than the 10, 20 years that Hitler operated. It's a lot longer than that. So why do you think June 10th is a holiday now? The never-ending GOP hypocrisy. Juneteenth didn't become a holiday because of one simple fact. America was not really eager to free black people. That's why you hear Abraham Lincoln even saying, if I could end the Civil War without freeing a black person, I would do it. Or Lyndon B. Johnson, I'm going to have N-words vote. I mean, it wasn't like that was a milestone that America really wanted to celebrate. I mean, a lot of people lost a lot of money freeing slaves. A lot of people were making a killing off of free labor. There's a lot of people who were not happy. Some would say that the South is still reeling from the cost of all that free labor. There's still a lot of very poor areas that used to be balling because they had all this free labor. So they weren't eager to do it. So they damn sure aren't going to make a holiday out of it. So it is a good idea to have the holiday, because we know July 4th doesn't represent freedom for everybody. So I don't see any harm in it. Looking in the comments, Juneteenth derangement syndrome. I've never heard of that one before. People don't want to be reminded of their dark history these days, but it is history. I think to deny it happened is a disgrace to the victims who suffered. Now, I think that's a great way of putting it. And I will tell you, like I just stated, if Germany had won World War II, they'd have been denying all that stuff ever took place. Most of the Jewish people did not like Germany, so they migrated elsewhere. We don't know where they went. That's what would have been said. We didn't kill all. We don't know where they went. And obviously the graves and stuff would have been either moved around or destroyed. Like in America, for instance, let's just talk about real quick, Black Wall Street. When they went and massacred all those people in Tulsa, they passed a law that the families of those victims could not post it in the newspaper. They could not put a gravesite up or anything. They essentially wiped it from history. And then they just built highways and roads right over their graves. So and that's what any country would do that don't want you to know its atrocities. It just never happened. When they destroyed Tulsa in the 1920s, they passed a law you could not really talk about it publicly at all. And as a result, a large portion of history, nobody ever knew. There were rumors and stories, but you couldn't do anything about it officially. Look at it in the comments. There's a historical difference between America and the United States. Well, America covers multiple continents. He said, stupid, ha, 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 that's the South. Huh? The 5 colonized tribes did not emancipate their slaves until 1866, 1 year after the war ended. Okay. July 4th is the only holiday, needs to be a month, not like Pride Month. I don't think a lot of folks who want the employers, for instance, definitely ain't gonna want to give you no month off. If you live in America and think you're not a slave, you've been programmed not to think so. That's why I said problems trickle up, agendas trickle down. You think you're Ryan Sharkley? Thank you for the super chat. You think you're a slave if you live in America? Maybe in a different sense. Now, I don't know about that. Tell me the black male violent crime epidemic is only because of systemic oppression. I won't tell you that, dead man. I won't tell you that. I grew up on the south side of Chicago. I don't believe folks selling drugs, claiming they got to feed their kids and all that. No, I mean, a lot of folks were simply trying to get paid. let me just tell you myself, if I was starving and really needed to survive, I'm not above committing crimes. Now, it's a difference between committing a crime just to feed your family, as opposed to you got rims on your car, you got a pair of brand new Jordans on. You're not doing this to feed your family. Everybody I knew that was selling drugs was doing that shit to get paid. That's just my opinion. Feeding your family was a byproduct of it, but you're doing a lot. I mean, a lot of folks who sell drugs, because you can make so much money selling drugs compared to a minimum wage job, you can get out of it pretty quick if the only goal was to feed your family. If that's all you're trying to do is make sure, if that's all you're trying to do is a couple $1,000 a month to eat, maybe another $1,000 or so for rent, $2,000 or $3,000 a month ain't a lot of money to make for a drug dealer. Most of these folks that try to buy a fancy car, nice wardrobe, it's way above and beyond that. So no, I don't favor that. And I would never tell you that everything happening in the black communities is due to systemic oppression. I do believe it has a hand in it, but in 2024, ain't nobody making you go out and sell drugs or murder somebody to get by. It's an excuse for sure. I fear looters in suits, not hungry people trying to eat. That sounds like that's prophetic. I like it. Black and voting for Trump, we've been lied to and robbed by the Democrats. I was able to afford groceries with Trump. End of story. All right, fair enough. Like I said, there's more to it than that, though. Capitalism support growth. It's out of hand now. Unfettered capitalism, in my opinion, is dangerous. I do believe you need socialist tenets as well. I think you need a mix of both systems. I'm not a fan of pure socialism, but pure capitalism is equally as dangerous. We've had pure capitalism before, and you had children working, you had no labor protections. If you didn't have the government step in and provide protections, you'd have monopolies. The people would really suffer. Even if you dial 911 for help, somebody would be charging you on the other end. Like, I can't send the police unless you can guarantee you can pay for it. Everything would cost. I don't think anybody would want that system. I don't know if that's correct. The Nazis kept accurate records of their atrocities, which is world documents, and to say German citizens they didn't know was, well, in regards to the Nazis keeping accurate records of their atrocities, had they won the war, you wouldn't have access to those records. Slave owners kept records of their slaves in America. Once slavery was outlawed and it became unpopular, they destroyed the records. That's what Germany would have did. So, yeah, they kept records, but if they had won the war, you wouldn't have access to any of that. That's not going to make it to history. They don't want people to know they're setting folks on fire and gassing people to death. They would ban any of that knowledge getting out, even if they kept records of it. If you're using vocabulary like liberal, far-right terrorists, Antifa, or MAGA thugs, the mainstream media owns you. Those are real actual words. Liberal is an actual word. What do you mean? The mainstream media, that's an actual word. Far-right terrorists. They exist. ISIS is a far-right terrorist group to America. So is Al-Qaeda. Those are actual terms. Antifa, it's an actual term. They got nothing to do with the mainstream media. MAGA thugs might. That sounds like something you'd hear on the media, but those other things are actual terms and words. Enough with slave owners. All right, fair enough. So do you think Africa would take you guys back to correct their fuck up? It's not Africa's fuck up. Just like you got people in this country that are saying there's no way in hell you're gonna make me pay reparations for something my great-great-great-great-great-granddaddy did. Then how can you refer to Africa fucking up when all the people that did that are dead too? If you don't want to blame anybody in this country for slavery, you can't blame anybody in Africa for the slave trade. It's got to work both ways. it is Africa partially. Africa's responsible somewhat. But let me tell you this from a couple of things. First of all, let's say you go to Cambodia back in the 80s when women could sell you their damn daughter, underage kid. If you go over there and you buy somebody's child and have your fun with it, you don't get to blame what you're doing on the mom. You know what you're doing is wrong. Yeah, Africans sold blacks into slavery. That doesn't excuse the purchaser, though. You know buying people is wrong just like he does selling them. You guys are co-conspirators in it. But here's the difference, though. You go to Africa and you purchase a slave, you're buying one. Let's say you purchase my black ass. You bought me. The African guy, the African chief sold you me. I get back to the United States. Now you're taking my kids, my grandkids, my great-grand. You're taking my whole family tree. He sold you one guy. You, in turn, enslaved the whole family tree of the guy. It's a big difference. It's a big difference. He sold you one guy 300 years ago. Now you got a whole laundry list of people throughout generations. You've been enslaving everybody from that guy for the last 300 years ago. That's what happened. That's what actually happened. It's a big difference in that, comparing the guy in Africa to what we did in the United States. I mean, it's like you bought a gremlin, took it home and put water on it and kept all of them. It's a big difference, big difference. California citizenry is a majority non-whites and are going to be paying reparations. It's laughable. I don't think the reparations are going to happen. Why is he talking about stuff from 100 years ago? Who cares? All want to be victims in 2024. It came up on the program. That's why we're talking about it. Yeah, but you can't ignore the origin of the cell. No, you don't ignore the origin of the cell. But trying to put it into context, it looks insane. I mean, like I said, it's like going to Cambodia, buying a girl, and then enjoying every child that person has for the next 200 years. And saying, well, the mom sold me one of them back in 1984. I just been doing it with all the kids from the rest of the time. In context, it's crazy to say, but I get your origin of the cell point. Victimhood works good. Look at the Jews. I don't know. I'd rather not be a victim, if that's what you want to say it is. And that's exactly what happened here. We need to let the past go. We are all Americans. Now let's worry about what's happening, like millions of illegals. I agree with you, Florida Blondie, but I got to tell you, just like I mentioned earlier in the program, if you're going to say you're honoring your pride and heritage, that's not letting the past go. I mean, at the end of the day, if you waving the Confederate flag in honor of your heritage, my ancestors were existing at the same time. This is the part where you don't want to discuss, but I mean, if you're talking about your ancestors, is it possible you might remind me of mine too? I mean, they existed simultaneously. We really want to move past slavery, but we want to keep waving around the flag and putting up statues of the people that existed at the very same time. It's almost like saying we really just want black people to shut up. I'm fine with you honoring the white person. I mean, that's because these things existed at the same time. If you want to get over the past, it all should go away. Otherwise, I don't see how you can do it. I mean, it's really basically saying that I only really want the white side to be able to talk about their past. I'd really rather stop hearing about what the black people went through. It all existed simultaneously. So I don't think you can ever get people to get over the past while some people are still waving around the symbols and statues of it. I mean, those people were doing something. Stonewall Jackson, generally, they were doing something back then. Do you ignore all of that? Look at in the comments. Confederate flags are made in China and Mexico to never end in GOP hypocrisy. Haven't heard anything from Democrats where they want to move. I haven't heard anything from Democrats where they want to move past slavery. Well, just like I was saying there, who said that? Craig Halpin. If you're not willing to move past the Confederate flag and the statues, you're not really ready to move past slavery either. What do you think was happening when those statues, the people on those, when they were alive? What do you think was going on? Slavery. If you want to move past slavery, everything from that era needs to be moved past. I mean, that's what we're saying. You should stop talking about your history, but it's okay for me to talk about mine, even though they're from the exact same period. And that makes sense to folks. Anyhow, folks, it is your boy Tim. I appreciate the 120 likes on the program. I know a lot of folks don't like to hear about this shit we're talking about now. We don't normally talk about it, but it came up. It pisses off a lot of folks on the right in particular. It is a free speech program, though. I don't mind folks getting pissed off or even coming at me the way they feel like they should. It's all about free speech. Anyhow, I will catch you folks tomorrow, 1 p.m. Central. Until then, have a good night.